Yo! Welcome everyone! Let me know if my sound is fine. And we are going to be discussing as a group with a full selection of joiners today, despite there only being 2 listed members. Joining us officially today is Housamo.
Hello.
Hey, always good to have you. As well as Zalgus.
Salutations, everybody.
And unofficially joining us as the ghosts, who will be presently judging us from the backgrounds, is Harvey Kais.
Hey, I was the OG ghost.
And that's why I have you listed in the title right now, unlike the other person, Irby, who literally just joined for no reason just now.
Yeah.
Insightful commentary as always. Alright, these bastards didn't even want to pick a topic. Jeez, they just want to join. Alright, let's no longer dilly-dally and hop right into the discussion. Welcome, Gazer and Hichan. So our first set of topics is going to be covering the skill-specific evolutions from Volume 52, which released during the previous event near its tail end. So the first topic is going to be Jiraiya, I believe, which is going to be covered by Housamo. Go ahead.
So, Jiraiya got a Skivo to his ninja skill, and basically, it does a lot of very different things. The first thing is that it buffed his evasion rate to 50%. I think that's similar to base Kataro now, after moving. So that isn't really too big of a deal, but whatever. The next thing is that he gets a phase start reflect debuff to himself that's guaranteed. After that, this is the interesting part of his skill, where on turn start, if he has 100 CP, he applies evasion to allies directly. And this is surprisingly at a guaranteed rate. And this is the strongest part of his skill evo. Continuing on though, he also has some remove buff. He applies remove buff to hit units at 80%. And after hitting, he applies binds to hit enemies and the enemies adjacent to the enemies he hits at a 50% rate, horizontally adjacent. So the Skivo actually does a lot of different things that don't really mesh with each other that well, but overall he's been given some utility in the form of disabling enemies by removing their buffs and applying bind, and also protecting the entire team through evasion. And since he can move to apply evasion to himself at a 50% rate, this can mean your whole team having evasion. Okay, so the interesting part of this kit is this evasion to allies directly adjacent at turn start at 100 CP. The reason why this is interesting is that it's actually possible to keep Jiraiya at 100 CP by either having him miss. That's easier said than done since his CS is shot range, but it's possible. Or by CS locking him. So you can use Eagle Knock or that Furufumi leaked AR that applies CS locked constantly, and Jiraiya can now be a perma evasion bot, and this evasion is guaranteed to allies. So that's pretty good value for a 4-star, I think. There's still problems though, is that he has no CP gen. His base kit still kind of sucks, so you're gonna have to rely on a different source for that evasion, that CP generation. And Eagle Knock actually fixes that problem pretty fast. The other interesting part about this evasion is that if you use Mugen Wakan, he can spread evasion to Mugen Wakan, and Mugen Wakan can spread the evasion back to him for free. So you wouldn't have to fish for evasion through after moving, and you can just have Mugen Wakan just ensure that evasion gets spread to your entire team for free. I tried it out, and it actually works pretty well. In practice. Really the main problem for you have that permanent evasion set up is flat damage, I think. But other than that, it's almost like a free win. You just have to make sure that Jiraiya has CS lock on him. And surprisingly, even though Jiraiya has that reflex debuff on him on phase start, it's pretty easy with Eagle Knock. So yeah, there you go. The other two utility aspects actually can kind of make a difference in today's challenge quest, since Bind has kind of shifted back and forth between being pretty good or just being disabled outright. So yeah, there you go. I still think he's kind of like a shitty unit, but he has a niche in that one specific case that I mentioned.
All right. What do you think, Zalgus?
Well, it's definitely not a horrible or bad either or anything. You know, it gives him things to do besides being a mediocre damage dealer and, I guess, CP drainer. Which, I mean, I guess CP drain was probably one of the more unique things about him back in the day, anyway. But yeah, it's not very impressive. The bind rate is pretty trash, and his self-evasion is still trash. But yeah, I feel like the more the game goes on and we get all these CP equals 100 things, it just CS lock stonks keep going up, and as does the Furufumi Elite AR. Everyone pull for that if it ever comes up again. It's an investment.
Well,
Yep.
that's all you have to say. Anything from the peanut gallery, aka the uninvited two? Well, I guess one of you was uninvited.
He will never be ballin'. Is this like where we're at for skills right now? Just like these bland ass effects where the most unique thing is like a CP conditional evasion to your allies. I don't know. It's like giving 2020 kit.
Just wait for the end of the stream.
And Irby, are you just there to really not say anything, just to listen, or do you want to add?
I'm just here to listen, but I'll give my thoughts at the end of the stream.
Okay, sure. Irby truly is a ghost. So, incredibly enough, even though there is all of us here, it seems that no one fucking read Jiraiya's kit carefully, because he does have Reflect debuff, which is new as well. No one brought that up, and that will...
No, I did. I mentioned it 3 times.
That's not going to interface with Eagle Nox CS lock or Furufumi's thing. That's going to block it, at least for the first time.
Just do it twice.
No, I actually
fine.
used it, and the team was perfectly fine.
Yeah,
because he
have any
doesn't get
CP
CP gen. Like, he's not gonna start with like 100 CP. It's like perfectly fine in
Yeah.
practice, actually.
You
Well,
can't.
yeah.
He doesn't have a guild either, so you'd have to like go out of your way to give him a guild, and then like invest in a CP perk to
I
get
know,
him.
but my point is, in practice, you can't just keep moving Eagle Knock behind him. You're
No,
more
in
likely gonna have
practice
to
you
move him in the
actually
back.
can. It's like fine. It's really not that bad. It's
I mean, if you think about it, that's like 3 people you're doing just for permanent evasion, and not much, other battle strategies at that point, besides your 1 remaining unit. And, you're not even going to be moving another unit because you're going to be moving Eagle Knock, and also there's not too much, you can move them in positionally, because you have to be, positioning Eagle Knock in such a way that Jiraiya is also still nearby while Wakantanka. So it's like, I know it works theoretically, but I am surprised you didn't emphasize it at all. And I'm fairly confident you didn't bring up debuff. I'm just skip from evasion to evasion on turn start.
No, I went through the effects like one by one because I'm just reading from the wiki.
Okay.
So that's on you, not me.
Okay. Anyway, counts out on that one. But I will say that the purpose is pretty clear for me. I don't think it's just random bullshit. Go. He has no additional damage amp here. It really does seem like he just got a bunch of utility effects. So the kind of thing that we think about is combined with, other calm clears. Except he has like 0 damage amp except for his Brawn. And then he just have like, dealing with debuffs that might disable him to reflect debuff, or removing guts or evasion with remove buff, or even bind. Of course, these aspects aren't super reliable, so it's questionably useful for farming, but it is technically an option. But yeah, we can move on to the next topic, but if you will please read out the chat first though, Milk.
Okay, let me get the link out. What are people saying about everyone's favorite character, Jiraiya? Hello everyone, heyo, hi nerds. They really want Jiraiya to have a theme with his full charge procs. I suppose that like evasion and bind are like ninja thematically. I'm surprised the Kotaro stand didn't say pair him with base Kotaro, but yeah, that's an option. With the evasion strengthening. Okay. Just stream elements. This really feels like a Skivo where they just threw stuff at the wall and hope something sticks. Yeah, it's a bunch of random effects. Even though Ara says that it's utility focused. I still think stuff like the face start reflects debuff. It's just like, whatever. The way I see it, they really want this version of Jiraiya to be utility focused. Okay, yeah. Oh right, Harvey, you're fat. Wow, this fat phobia. Ara, you're my favorite grandpa. Milk is Harvey's secret clone and Zalgus is Zalgus.
True.
Still love y'all though. True. This emo. If only his Retaker skill had legit CP drain. I think getting 60 CP on hit is pretty busted, but who knows with this game right now.
It synergizes with the rest of the utility effects in terms of doing adjacently helpful stuff.
You mean like getting 60 CP on hit is balanced?
Removing 60 CP, not gaining 60.
No, I mean, this guy is saying...
Oh, like stealing it?
Yeah, like stealing, I think. Like 60 is pretty a lot, so like I think legit is like you want to like steal it as well. Okay, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Maybe he actually means drain, as in like just removing. Okay, also Jiraiya had gone so many skivos. LW secretly loves him. Really?
Oh yeah, that's totally reflected
like,
on the quality of these evos.
I guess like he did get that summer skivo that I don't remember at all, but yeah.
It was one of the worst evos we received all year. I was like...
The only difference is he barely gets any better, unlike Aza. Oh, Irby is there too. Okay, that's all the messages.
Thank
all
you.
From Joe.
Yeah, Joe's
I didn't realize Jiraiya had a full-time CS multiplier. Is that unusual or not?
It's a bit
unusual. Yeah,
it's
unusual.
It's, now we have more reason to get his charge up. There you go.
It's like a remnant of like 2017 where there's just like people who have random fucking CS multipliers, especially the Beach Babe units. Yeah. I guess Kotaro is probably the last, but there's like a list on the wiki.
There's a few. There's also like the Beach Babe one from Ashigara. But yeah, let's move on. This is going to be a long discussion because we are covering quite a broad range of topics here. So the next topic is going to be Kenta, which is going to be covered by Zalgus. Go ahead.
It's me. Right, so Kenta, resident dog boy whose base form was pretty useless. He did basically nothing. So now for the third time, he receives an Evo, but this time it's actually a unique Evo to him, so it's not shit. So the Evo applies onto his on-hit healing skill, which I think is called Biter or something, or the one who bites. Turn start limit is good. It's just a free damage buff, and 90% annoyingly, but Kenta can actually guarantee it without seeds if you wanted to move him, which, I mean, maybe you could do that if you wanted the tenacity. Before hitting, he deals flat damage and life steals it, meaning that each hit can heal up to 800. It's a okay heal, I guess, if he's hitting 2 targets. Since it's a separate skill from his other heal, like his old heal, this means he can double dip and get 2 800 heals, I believe. So he can heal 1,600 per attack if he's hitting 2 targets, which isn't too bad. But he's, he still obviously needs defenses, which he only has tenacity. Also, he has Berserk Plus, making him slightly squishier. So there's mild anti-synergy with limit, but because Kenta's short range anyway, he's thrust, he's going to be getting hit. So the healing can keep him alive while getting some use out of limit by keeping him in a mid-range HP, while letting Kenta front line. So I guess that's a strategy. Before hitting, Kenta will also apply Break and Oppression to hit targets, with Oppression spreading to enemies around his target. Those both last 1 turn, so there's some overlap here, but it's fine for a few reasons. First of all, Kenta gets a new skill that gives him advantage to all movement stopping effects as part of this Evo. It's a 1.5 times damage buff per debuff, so Kenta can actually double dip on it in 1 hit if he manages to proc both Break and Oppression. The rates for Break and Oppression are 80 and 70% respectively, so they're definitely not guaranteed. So it's entirely possible for him to fail 1 movement stopping debuff and then proc the other, which means you will, stun them. And if that's your aim, just to stun enemies, then that's a higher chance altogether by having both. There's also the possibility of enemies being immune to 1 status but not the other, or having nullified debuff, blah blah blah. Either way, it's fine for Kenta to inflict both. And for anyone else who benefits from these debuffs, like Halloween Alice, it's just more debuffs for them to take advantage of. And finally, one last ability that isn't particularly synergistic is just when leaving Stigma to the entire board. Sure, whatever. Not much to say there. So this Evo adds quite a lot of damage into Kenta's kit. You've got Limit, you've got Break, and then you've got advantage to both Break and Oppression. Assuming he procs both with base Limit, Kenta will be dealing 26k, which is quite a lot for a 4-star thrust unit. And that's considering he only really has 1 damage buff there. If you add his Berserk Plus for him getting hit, then he'll probably get hit because he's going to be frontlining probably. That's another damage buff, so he's going to be dealing like over 50k, probably over 60k. That's just offhandedly calculated. So all in all, I'd say it's a decent Evo. It gives Kenta things that he can actually do in a fight on his own, which was a problem he previously had where he basically did nothing, like most Gen 1 units. He can disable enemies now, and he can deal decent damage, but really the main problem remains his range. Thrust as a range for trying to clear out many enemies at once or disable many enemies is kind of poop. He has the oppression spread at least, but I guess it's fine. We had other units like Taramite, who is also thrust, and she can get away with just pairing with Summer Oz, even if she's way more disabling because she has skill lock. But Kenta actually does more damage than her because that's not her main function. She deals about 20k, I think. And Kenta deals 26, so yeah, there's that. Kenta's damage is definitely on the higher end right now, but is it really worth using? I mean, if you like him, I guess, but as for damage dealing, there are plenty of units these days who can deal way more damage than that effortlessly, so it's a shame, but he's usable now, and that's fine.
Okay, Moko.
Oh?
What do you think?
I don't like thrust units, so I don't really like this. I don't really like that it's just, a bunch of damage for Kenta, and really he still has no range. But I mean, like, I guess I'll take a Skeevo where he basically gets, like, fucking 10 times damage than his old kit. So, whatever. I don't think it's interesting, though. It's just, like, more damage, blah, blah, blah. Could already fix that with affiliations. So, whatever.
Okay. Honest assessment. What do you think, Harvey?
I mean, you can do damage in thrust range. That's pretty cool. Not really. I don't know. You think about, like, what kind of units in this game really utilize thrust well, right? And it's like 2 people in total. Fucking Valentine Gunzo with his Evo, and then like Nightmare Jambavon. And this really doesn't compare to either of them.
Yeah. In a way, this feels a bit like the Valentine Kuma Evo in terms of just giving them free damage and in a very boring way. Maybe trying to add something kind of quirky, but even like this is far less quirky than whatever Kuma had. I'm not easily as impressed by just free damage. I mean, you're comparing it with Tower Mighty, but Tower Mighty wasn't like particularly great damage here. What made her good was because she had, decent damage on top of actually having a bunch of utility effects too. Kenta doesn't really have utility effects per se. It's more like
just getting killed.
There are better units if you want to just go directly for the kill. And again, he's not even that much stronger than Tower Mighty, so...
No, get him killed.
To get him killed? If you want to go for that, a Sand Dragon Kenta build, sure, for both Break and Stigma. I think someone might actually inflict weakness too when he's apart, but I forget who. But it's... I'm not too impressed by him in terms of practically, like, you can see I'm kind of struggling here too. Or I did struggle to come up with a team for him because his entire style of gameplay is like not very synergistic at all with other units, and like you can surely amplify his damage, but that's pretty much it. He doesn't really assist other players or other allies that well. He doesn't really complement other allies that well. He's just kind of there to survive on his own, healing himself. So he's kind of this like skirmisher, if you will, kind of a bit of a shitty skirmisher, honestly, but since he doesn't have too much utility effects, he could directly poke them, freeze them in place, and then, like, run away or some shit, although he won't be healing at that point. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. He's really designed to just play alone, and it's just like, why would you ever do that? I don't understand the point of this unit besides just giving a bunch of damage, which I guess is a more honest way to put his strength of this Evo. Yeah. I'd honestly just say, don't use him. Like, even if he has good damage, just like column clears, which is at better range, that just does better damage than him too. So like, why use him at that point?
You could have a mediocre solo carry.
He's very mediocre indeed. Theoretically, he could solo carry if the enemy had 0 mechanics whatsoever. And like, did not have enough damage. But that's unlikely. Anyway, I think we are done with Kenta since Irby will remain in this Gone Girl era. So go ahead and read the chat, Zalgus.
Yeah, CP, steal CP, lol. It'd obviously be balanced to not steal 60 CP per unit. What is that? I can't tell what that emote is. Is there just someone standing there?
It's the man levitating emoji. I don't know why that exists. It's literally called the man levitating emoji if you look it up on Discord. Like,
he's not levitating though.
No,
He's
there's like a shadow underneath his feet.
Yeah, it's actually him just levitating. It's very dumb.
Well, I'm using dark mode, sorry. Can we skip Kenta?
I like the message to see it. Yeah.
It didn't work, unfortunately. Oh, but it's not like enemies tend to have a bunch of CP ready at face start or anything. Hello, I agree we should skip Kenta. Don't really have any opinions on this Skibo. It sure is one of the Skibos of all time. Yeah, it's definitely nothing unique, mostly damage. with mild utility. So small nervous child can do thing now instead of nervous child. He's literally Harvey, ? I'm talking about Milky Bum. Hi everyone, hi. Eta plus level 1 Yule can 2-shot the first HDQ.
Yo, gaming.
Yule's Evo is on his first skill.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone who has a level 1 Yule, I guess. Don't call him bum, you fraud. I mean Kenta. Love how dead the chat was when Kenta showed up. I'm calling you a bum, but if I'm a bum and Harvey equals milk... monocle emoji, well...
What the fuck is going on in chat?
I don't know what this exchange is.
Let's just go
yeah.
on. Let's move on. Let's not think too deeply about it. Okay, we're going to be talking about the next skill evolution. This is going to be Shiro. I'm gonna assume it's me who's covering this. Let me see. Oh yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, it's you.
Thank you. Alright, so reviewing Shiro, our classic leader of the Summoners. He is, of course, a release unit and had historically had a very similar kit to his base 3-star, which was free. So there was like essentially no reason to think about them as two separate things, and no reason to pull for 4-star Shiro before, because he was essentially the same as the 3-star, which was free. But now there's a bit of a reason, which is pretty decent, honestly. So as for the changes specifically, the base rate of his debuff removal to self and adjacent allies every time he attacks has been moved from 32%, which is atrocious and something he just gambled for during the era of like unreliable rates, to a very modern 90%. So skill sedum, and that is guaranteed debuff removal for the very wide magic that he's sitting in. In addition to that, he's gained a few new effects, including fear resistance to all allies on phase start, guaranteed off the bat, alongside with fear weakening to all enemies, where they take 2 times damage when they have fear to all enemies, also guaranteed out of the box. He also has the unique effect of applying guts to the ally ahead of him if he is stationary at a somewhat shaky 60%, as well as now having personal advantage against his the fear he applies at 2 times. So what this means for his new roles is actually going to be centered along the fact that his fear is actually still only after hitting. So it kind of lends to a certain kind of playstyle. He is now a secondary ally tank, and what I mean by this is he does have a lot of like tank adjacent roles that are actually quite good. So, namely his debuff mitigation, both by removing debuffs to self and adjacent allies at a guaranteeable rate for his like very generous magic range, so he can move up to 5 debuffs, maybe even 10 if he has combo, and also just outright fear resistance to all allies, which makes him particularly useful for quests where you know fears can come up, such as in the current Missionaries Clash quest, where pretty much no one is susceptible to fear whatsoever from hitting your last attempt, just because everyone now has fear resistance. And in addition to that, he also has parts of his base kit still intact, where he curses the target he hits. And he now has guts, of course, to ally, as I mentioned before, at a shaky-ish rate at 60%. And he, as before, you can play him as a fear staller. So essentially, you'll just want to hit units, poke them with the side with the horizontal part of your magic range at a fairly reliable 80%, and then sort of just stall away, like whether you want to heal or amp up your charge or whatever away from things. Very classical Gen 1 sort of gameplay. That fear is also on his charge, which he can get like okay-ishly fast because of his kind of or very outdated researcher skill, which gives 26 CP to self on phase start. Now, more pressingly, he is a more prominent lead setup unit now, which, in addition to being lent to by his secondary ally tank role, which I just talked about, he also gives everyone the ability to take advantage of fear, or rather, he gives all enemies a weakness to fear, which he himself cannot personally take advantage of because he only applies fear after hitting. So that is to say, fear is applied like after damage calculation and after damage is already applied. So only allies who attack right after him at slot, like if he's slotted in slot 1, then he'll be slotted. His allies will be in 2 or later to actually deal extra damage to his fear application. In addition, unless you have combo, then more likely than not, the only way you can take advantage of his fear advantage is to continue stalling until the next turn, where Shiro will attack again to hit that fear on the enemy, taking advantage of both their fear weakening as well as his native 2 times advantage to fear. So quite an interesting playstyle that has very centered around the fact that his fear is after. It would obviously be better if it was before hitting, but because it's not, it does, echo back to the sort of Gen 1 style play style. Although that's not to say it's a bad thing, given how reliable a lot of his effects are and how broad-reaching and modern the advantage effects are too. So, as I said, for my recommendations, consider either placing him in slot 1 for the fear advantage for both his allies, as well as him in later turns, or consider applying combo to him, which I tried to exploit with near last step in this footage, so that he himself can take advantage of his fear immediately. His best phase lengths, or best quests with a particular kind of phase length, is going to be quests with a phase length of 2 to 5 turns, because again, he can only take advantage of his own fear or beyond the first turn, but his fear advantage will also run out after the first 4 turns. So essentially the kind of quests where fear stalling will be relevant, but not the kind where you're going to be hyper tanking for 10 or so turns. This is not generally going to be a relevant option when instant wiping is generally feasible, but there have been, as particularly with the previous event, a lot of measures taken to counter instant wiping. So in cases of quests where instant board wiping is explicitly denied, units like Shiro become slightly more relevant when fear styling can actually be helpful. That's all my thoughts on this unit, though. Well, what do you guys think? Let's start with Harvey, actually. Be quirky.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So, pre-Skivo, he was just kind of known as this fear bot, and he was actually kind of worse than his 3-star counterpart because of I think it was his CP thing. But I think the most interesting role now is actually his ability to remove debuffs at a really high rate. The competition for debuff removal right now is Pazuzu and Main Quest Neural. We're both capped at 80% because it's a pseudo skill. And there's also Jamboree Aizen, who hasn't seen the light of day for the past year.
Right.
So this is actually a really nice addition to everyone's roster, I think. It's a very easy to use debuff remover. I don't really care too much about this if stationary guts thing. It's just kind of whatever to me. You'll usually want them to be in the front line so you can hit more targets and also be in a more ideal position to be seated near his allies and whatnot, and also so they can take advantage of his fear damage reduction or damage amp. But yeah, I think it's an actually pretty good Skivo.
Yeah, it's not like he's particularly higher rate than any other units, so, just because he's a starter unit in the story doesn't mean, he'd be theoretically good at start, but he has, probably more questionable use in the late game. I do think the guts at least lends well to the whole fear stalling thing. You just, roll for it as much times as you want, 3 turns in a row. But, yeah. What do you guys think, Zalgus and Milk? Or Zalgus first, I guess. Go ahead.
Should have given him immunity to skill locking debuffs so that he could never be debuffed.
I wonder if we have a unit like that.
I can mention. No, there's pretty much never any reason to use 4-star Shiro, so now there is a reason. So I guess that's good. It was always kind of silly that he was debatably a worse unit. I don't know how many units we have who could claim that. Is it pretty much just Shiro who... I guess there's Arslan as well, unless you really want the extra stats. Or his terrible Evo. But no, it's a fine Evo. It, adds... or makes his remove debuff utility not atrocious because no one has time for 32% proc rate. Now he, amps damage as well on the team, so that's good. I don't know when the fear resistance is going to be useful. I'm sure there'll be plenty of. I'm sure there'll be time to find quests where it's useful. But as with anything or any resistance skill, it's only really useful for the quests that actually have it. So I generally tend not to think about them. But whatever. But yeah, it's a fine evo, I guess.
Okay, thanks. Alright, finish up, Milk. What do you think?
Okay, so I did want to emphasize Harvey's point that the debuff removal for Shiro is actually really, really good, in the sense that the last unit who had like this sort before hitting debuff removal, right, or basically an on hit. I know Shiro's is after hitting, I think, was Summer Dagon, who had it at an 80% rate, and he's shot range. So that's our 5-star debuff removal if you ignore like Pazuzu and
last bit.
yeah, main quest Gnarl. So like the fact that he can remove 5 debuffs at once is actually kind of unprecedented outside of those two. So there you go. He's actually kind of good in that niche, like very, very good. And he's probably like one of the best debuff removers in the game, actually. The other point that I was going to make is that there's like some weird things about the kit that I don't like. One of them is that the Fear Weakening thing is a debuff status that only lasts 4 turns, while Fear lasts 5 turns. And I feel like that's because they keep copy-pasting these like fucking weakening status effects. But yeah, it's not like a really big deal, but it's like weird. The other thing is that Shiro's damage sucks. That even if his like fear was before hitting, he would be doing like 3.7k damage per square by himself.
Well,
like
the fear is pretty much its own EM, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so like it's not really that big of a deal because I think he's still doing shit numbers. Like, so yeah, you're just gonna use him for utility. Like I know like 4 times damage is nice, but like, it's Shiro. He's still not doing numbers.
Where's the Summoner's affiliation defense now? Jeez.
Me?
A shame his fear is after hitting. You can't take advantage of it on the first hit.
Well, like I think that was the entire crux of what I was saying about him.
Use him with a combo unit. There you go.
I'm literally just showing that already. Why are we reiterating this? Okay.
Well, doesn't count because main quest Gnarl is stupid.
Well, I could have used. Who else even gives combo? Fucking Jamba Fun, I guess.
Beach Seth and Volos
Beach
are the two common ones.
Beach Seth. No, I'm gonna pull for Jamba once he prints again. Abandons the Beach Seth propaganda.
Vanilla Wakan 5.
Okay, I didn't actually need a list. It was a rhetorical question. But I'm a bit surprised no one mentioned Horus as another option to remove debuffs. I guess because no one fucking uses Horus, but whatever.
Are we talking about the broken Horus or the regular Horus?
I mean, I think they both can remove debuffs per buff, but only the 5-star Horus can remove it to allies as well.
Yeah, but no one used him except you.
Yeah, but that's just people care about him. He's pretty good, but fine.
Horus is kind of shit for debuff removal.
It's only to himself, that after buff effect.
His 5-star does it to allies, but it's like 2 squares left and right, and it's at a 40% rate after buff.
It's after buff. Something.
Oh, yeah, it's not to himself on the 5-star. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Okay. Y'all choosy. Jeez.
What?
Alright.
We're being practical. What do you mean?
I'm being practical. I use both horses. No, it's just no one wants to remember him. Jeez.
No one has him up on my fucking friends list. I have no choice but to ignore him.
Why? But you have like Pazuzu on your friends list or something? Just whatever.
I have Pazuzu on my roster. I don't have fucking Horus.
Skill issue.
I'm not gonna use Horus anyways for his debuff shit. Jesus.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm gonna go read up the chat and then we can move on. Where even were we? God, there's so much burning chemistry between you and Joe. Can't tell where it begins. Here it is. Hey, Brickhead got another skill evolution? Brickhead. I suppose there is a resemblance to that. Finally, a reason to use 4 stars to Shiro over his 3-star. You're still not gonna use them. Well, you don't even play the game, so. Well, the board-wide fear weakening and debuff removal is nice, but having to rely on that 80% proc rate for the fear to actually apply isn't nice, especially because he has no native skill rate ups. Well, fear isn't exactly the kind of status you generally care about for farming anyways, considering you need to wait a turn, so because it's not really as relevant for farming, it's also not going to be as relevant for, you know, having absolute guarantee ability. So I think it's fine. 80% has always been like laudably consistent for a base release unit, and it's still quite decent now. Like, it's not too hard to get one additional rate up from some other unit at this point. Fear resistance is there. I mean, it does feel like a bonus effect, but honestly, when fear is on board, it's one of the most annoying statuses to watch out for. And the fact that it exists just kind of like removes the challenge completely for 4 turns in a row to everyone is, you know, well appreciated. Case V and Case Show. Show, most people won't get that reference. Is CS applies fear before hitting. You could pump him full of CP as another route. Yeah, that's true. I guess if you're investing in summoners, that's more possible. Don't worry, Harvey will tell them. Summer McCroik has no combo, no? He does have, he has combo, yeah. You're right. On phase start, if he has that 100% CP, it's a bit tricky to do it though, because it's only adjacent and, you know, it's based on above spread. I mean, you use 5-star Horus for Guts Cheese. I do. So, calling me out for that. How do you even remember that? I don't even remember the last time we made a Guts Cheese video was Horus. I guess I mostly use Horus for his flat damage now, honestly. But that's a turn thing, you believe. Yeah,
You
Horus.
probably remember this because that's the only thing that he was used for.
Well, that's a thing he was theoretically good for, but I ended up using him because he's one of the units that actually has, like, at least for quite a while, one of the most decent flat damage effects when he's set alongside Isaac. Hey, you play occasionally. Doubt. That's trash talking. Alright, we're gonna move on to the final skill evolution of this batch. This is our dearly beloved Amduscias, going to be covered by Housamo. It is you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I actually didn't test him again after I tried to solo one of the HDQs in the last event with him. But Amduscias got a few new things in his Skivo. Okay, so yeah. So basically, he got buffed in a number of ways. One is that on miss, he now applies arousal to himself and allies in this big 2-square diamond radius at 100%. His tenacity part didn't change, so it's still this fucking Mecha Man looking skill. But now there's a couple new things where before hitting, he actually steals 500 HP to hit units and enemies 1 square around hit units at a 40% rate. So this means that if he hits, this means that he can potentially steal from like a 3x3 area of enemies 500 HP from each of those units for each hit. So he can potentially steal 4.5k HP from enemies for 1 hit. So if he's magic range, you multiply that by 5 again. Okay. And then he has more on-miss functionality where he increases 16 CP to himself at a 90% rate on miss. And further on miss, he applies CS, weapon change, magic for 3 turns to himself. Okay, so there's a number of things that you can talk about. Is that this flat damage deal is actually really high, since he can get weapon change magic to himself, and he can like potentially heal like 22k HP, which I guess you would only heal like up to that numbers if you're using affiliations. The problem with it is that it's still kind of a stupid effect, in like a stupid bad way. For one, it's at a 40% rate, and 2, it kind of like assumes a lot of things like about the enemy formation, that if you're using Amduscias, you could just like kill them instead of like worrying about this HP steal. I guess if you had like wanted to do the solo tank meme, you could use him, but honestly, when I was trying it out, it kind of felt awkward. I know it's possible, but I'd rather like prefer something more consistent, and Amduscias does like high amounts of damage, so this HP steal is kind of stupid. Yeah. The other part about his miss functionality is that because he changes himself to magic, some people, mainly Irby, have been calling it like a de-evolution on miss. Because most people associate Amduscias with this like big punch, one punch, you get big funny numbers. I actually don't really agree that it's a de-evolution, in the sense that one, his numbers are still really high, even if his like CS is magic. I don't have the numbers right now, but I think it's like in like the 300k range. I'll just run it right now.
I do have it listed here. So he, with his magic range and ardor, he's dealing 470,000 damage per square, which is
so
still
it's like,
in a way.
Yeah, so it's like you should probably be killing anyways at that range. The other reason why I don't think it's like a de-evolution is that it's actually kind of weird to have Amduscias miss. Because most of the time when you're using Amduscias, you're like moving him because you want to have the range of like magic or like get the ardor and stuff. And so it's a little awkward to like have him miss in the first place. I suppose like if his CS is up, you can like make him miss intentionally, but it kind of feels like a waste to have him miss, because his on miss effects aren't very strong, even with like the fact that he gains 16 CP, or the fact that he applies arousal to allies. Like none of that is like good in today's meta. So I think it's like much more likely that when you play with him, you don't really even activate this unless you like consciously get the effect. So yeah, you're not gonna run into this thing by accident. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you. I know you're just listening, Irby, but do you have something in response to his allegations? Irby's fucking
No, I still think it's a de-evolution, because I can't do my funny solo memes anymore. And missing is kind of usually part of those things, because a lot of the times enemies aren't positioned in the way that you can hit an enemy every single consecutive turn. So I do still think it's a de-evolution, and I will never use Amduscias ever again because of it.
But you were using Amduscias anyway, though.
I was for doing funny memes, like the high score challenge in April Fools.
You could still use him for that. What are you even talking about?
It's not as funny.
What are you talking? Okay. I'm gonna start after Irby. I agree with Milk, and I think Irby is definitely being overreactionary for no fucking reason. Jesus Christ. It is by all, well, pretty much all metrics, a very good evolution that brought him from, you know, like this strong unit in a very specific niche that just barely existed and we are hoping that niche would exist, to someone who's actually, you know, usable now for a lot broader of a category of quests. As long as there's some high HP unit, it doesn't matter if they're in front or back. And with regards to Irby's comments about how you can't use them for like single targets anymore, that's obviously wrong. It's very like if it's a single target enemy,
it's not for single targets. I didn't say just single targets. Like a lot of the times when you're soloing high difficulty quests, there's a lot of enemies and they're not always positioned in a way that you can always low range them. So it's kind of like hard to get it done, especially when you build your CS so quickly.
I don't understand how you would not be in position to hit them, because it's like he gets magic range if you move him.
Right.
He gets magic range if you move him already.
I have like a solo quest where, yes, I did need, in fact, to miss with my CS available.
But why?
To do that game over. Do you think I remember? I just remember because I had to do that. Like, I needed to do that for that solo quest. I don't remember which it was, but I think memories. It was last year. And that's kind of why it's stuck that, yes, it's in fact a de-evolution for me.
The most convincing platform today, everyone. Go out and vote now.
I didn't come here for the discussion prepared with my arguments. I'm just here listening.
Oh my god. But yeah, in my opinion, for single target boss killing at least, he doesn't change at all. Like, because if they were single target, they would be like easily reachable where Amduscias can actually reach in the first place. And so there's no way you would miss at that point with this current evolution. Or they weren't in reach in the first place, which then, you know, base Amduscias pre-evo would also not be able to handle. So like, in this scenario where there's like multiple enemies and you need to miss, it's like imaginable, but like really is it imaginable? You could just use someone with like extended movement if you actually wanted to reach someone with low range at that point. Like, I don't, this is such a confusing.
But the idea is to solo.
You can still solo though, what? Also, Amduscias isn't particularly like well suited for soloing, given like his entire thing is big damage. So if you want big damage, then necessarily you're gonna want to stack him with a bunch of more damage amp. I mean, if anything, he's better for like solo carrying now. So now that he has more options for actually dealing with a broader category of quests and enemy arrangements. Like, what? Okay. What do you think? We didn't even go at this point. Is it just Zalgus? Maybe it's Harvey.
Yes.
It's Harvey didn't go either, yeah.
Said anything yet.
You go first, yes.
My opinion is, does it really matter? Well, does this even really matter? Like, okay, yes, now he can spread his pretty good damage, or his very high single target damage into pretty good magic damage. But he still has to get CS and then possibly do setup for it if he needs to miss still. Now, why would I do that when I could just use a regular magic attacker instead? When I could just Anvari them from turn 1? So, I'm not really seeing the appeal of this Evo.
Well, the appeal is just the raw damage, but you actually need to know what they are to see. I mean, to pull out the numbers, let's see. Anvari does 77,000 damage per square, which is on his regular magic attack. And as we talked about, what's called Amduscias at magic range with discharge is almost 10 times as much as that at like 470,000 damage per square. So yeah, it is just about the raw damage difference at that point.
How about Willie?
Willie is at 200,000 damage per square. Still not quite as strong as Amduscias, but again, it's understandable given he is, loaded in the front end for immediate damage, and he does fall off pretty hard if you're not careful. I believe a lot of his stuff is just unrivaled, isn't it?
It's like 2 of his buffs or something.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Amduscias can indefinitely keep up his damage theoretically. And he does have very high charge up time that's easy to get. As you can see in Fletch, every 2 turns, or even with the right setup, every turn.
You can keep up Willie's buff.
Yeah, if you were saying with the right setup, you might as well just use Willie so that you have that uptime too. But
can he keep up his buffs with his charge? I don't even know. I don't know.
No. If you're saying with the right setup, then you might as well just, bring damage buffers for Willie. Or Amduscias, or whatever. But
or use Fafnir.
Yes, use Fafnir.
I mean,
I've yet to actually see people use Fafnir in spite of all the hullabaloo about him.
I want to use them, but these quests just never warrant his usage. It's just
yeah.
I mean, the quests never warrant a usage for someone who benefits pretty much exclusively from the team he's built around, and not really specifically curated for the quest itself. He's good, but he's not exactly a counter to anything particular. But yeah,
anyway,
it's more of the fact that Fafnir's mechanics are just severely overkill in this state of the game.
Yeah. But yeah, just going by the uptime and damage of Amduscias, I see an argument for him. You could obviously argue just use Willie and Oz, but that's more of an argument of just reliable farming at that point, which has its own set of issues given sacrifice of ARs and all that. But if we're looking at just challenges, there could be use for someone who's more charge focused with damage.
We can say that when the challenges actually are able to withstand damage.
It's a problem with the challenges itself at this point, but it is true now that Amduscias is generally more useful. I'm not claiming he's better than Willie. If you have Willie, by all means use him, but you can't deny Amduscias getting magic range charge every turn, dealing 400,000 damage is an objectively strong value or metric to be comparing him by.
Yeah, but I don't think it's particularly interesting because of the prevalence of magic range nukers.
It's not that prevalent. It's really just Willie and Unvari at a distant second, and then a very distant start from all of them with fucking. What was it again? I don't even know. Let's see.
Was he gonna say Marduk? Actually.
Oh, actually, yeah. He closed the gap between the third one. He's at 50,000. But yeah, that's at that point. That's actually just 1/10 of Amduscias. And yeah, Amduscias can actually solo carry with his damage, unlike Marduk, who just fucking pops instantly and is exclusively useful for farming.
Yeah, but Amduscias is ugly.
There's the truth. There's the real core argument behind everything.
Well, I don't actually think that. That's just me being childish. But no, it's a fine Evo, but it doesn't particularly interest me. But I never used Amduscias to begin with, so
maybe give him a try. He's kind of silly if you make him work.
No.
Well, it's true that I had to ask Harvey twice to put him up because no one ever actually put it up. So understandable, there's no opportunity to actually try him up.
I like the Skivo because it gave him a goofy lifesteal effect.
I saw your video on it, and then I told Harvey, I was like, out of all the parts of his evolution, you fixated on his lifesteal, which was not even that super memey in the end. Was 40%? What?
It worked in the second HDQ for the last event. I'm telling you, but I couldn't share that with you at the time because no spoilerinos.
Okay, if you say so. I'm not convinced. It's an okay amount of healing, but it's far too unreliable for my tastes. And you could say Spooky God, but he doesn't need healing on turn 1, so I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, let's finish this topic off by having Milk read the chat.
Hey, where did we leave off?
It's a good question.
I'm just gonna say I have Horus. Hey, I play occasionally. Less trash talking. I'm not trash talking, I'm simply showing my love. He's still getting a summer alt next year. Puppy Corn got an upgrade. Happy I got the unicorn. I need to get a 5-star. The CS change is nice, but Amdu needing to be a dead unit for a turn is so nasty when there are so many units who don't need a dead turn to wreck multiple units. Yeah. Hi guys, came for a sec. Anyway, I must take my leave. Hold your tears. I know. But remember, I will always be here to haunt you all. Enjoy the stream and have a great day, everyone. Bye, fatty. Also, Harvey, you're fat. Again. Bye now. Can't take a turn off. Take care, show. I sent a message to the wrong stream. Bye, Joe. Talking about magic news, I hope they buff V-Balor.
God. I remember thinking he was like the best magic unit, and that was like not even the conversation at all. But unreliable
he
ass
won
rates
that
and like
one.
it's too much vulnerabilities as well. Jeez.
Well, it's more like Summer on Vari just became the meta for whatever reason. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because all this stuff is guaranteed, and they gave him that evo.
It's kind of funny how like you went out of your way to impassionately voice Joe's comments. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We'll be talking about our one and only new unit for this discussion. This is going to be Manticore. This is going to be covered by
You.
Thank you, because I'm not on the notes page yet. I switched off to look at the damage values. Yes, it is I, Arathun, here to say today, never fear. We are going to be talking about this AGF unit, so of course that means there's going to be a lot of praise in the next 5 minutes. So, to start off the bat, since there is an after buff effect, well, I'll just go list off the buff sources. He does have 6 in total. Is like Guts, Face Start, Rage Plus, Turn Start, and some situational Turn Start effects at Guts and Rage Plus at 100 CP. Before attacking, he has Tenacity and Concentration over 50 CP, but that turns into Crit at under 51% HP. Sorry. And when he's hit, he has Arousal, and when he has his charge, he has Weapon Chain Shot. So altogether, at least before he actually can get his charge at 100 CP, he can potentially use 6 of his sources. So it's okay, but as you can see later on, it's not actually that great. I would say Manticore's use is ultimately going to be distilled into one major role and a couple of minor ones. He is primarily a damage dealer and damage amp, so not particularly creative there, but that is his main role. He does have unique amps in very least. He has Rage Plus to self on turn start, and that is just like, no matter what part of his kit, that will always happen, whether it's his charge or his HP is at 4 or his CP is at less than 100. It'll always be there. Besides that, he is a very mid uptime board wiper, because he does have a mid-pace charge fill. As I talked about, he does have 6 buffs that can actually help him get his charge up, which is 6 CP to self post buff. Now, to give you some perspective, Amduscias' charge fill is also 6 CP, except it's guaranteeable at 90%. And Amduscias, at least in my opinion, from actually using him, is a bit of a frustrating unit, because he's so reliable with his charge fill, but he also feels like a pain to charge up because it's such a small amount. Like you actually need like a shit ton of buffs to actually get him to have his charge up reliably every turn. And meanwhile, Manticore over here is like sitting at, what is his rate? I don't have it written down here. 60% CP every time he's buffed, so it's like far worse than Manticore's, which was already an issue despite being guaranteeable. And he has far less buffs as well to benefit every turn. He does have some additional ways to get his charge up, such as Arousal, Self and Allies whenever he's hit. Allies around him, 90%. And when he does get his charge, which is all range, he does have some moderate loop potency at 2 CP to self for every enemy he hits. But otherwise, it's not great in terms of its uptime. It's there. You'll get it in like maybe 4 turns or later or something like that, unless you have someone who's supporting him with additional charge fill. And in addition to that, he can get some additional damage amp on his charge attack, as I mentioned, he does have that mid-pace charge fill, which will correspond to both his Rage and Guts effect, though the Rage is the only relevant part here really at this point of the discussion. I'll amplify his charge damage a bit further, and he does have Break on his charge as well. So other than that, he is a low-range damage dealer and imp, so outside of his all-range charge, he does have local damage with his low-range attack, unlike a very shitty Amduscias. Concentration to self as well as allies in a 2-square diamond radius before he attacks at over 50% HP, which turns into crit to self and allies surrounding him at a 2-square diamond radius under 51% HP. He also has a limit to just allies, not himself, when he hits, but at a 80% rate. So not guaranteeable, and not self, but does work towards his amplifying aspect, if not his personal damage dealing. And after he gets his charge, he can extend his range a tiny bit to fit his archer motif of switching into shot range, at least for the subsequent 2 turns. So that does work occasionally well with his mid-uptime board wipe. Outside of that, he has 2 minor rules, which is like, might as well talk about them. He does have Guts to self on on turn start, as well as phase start. And the turn start effect is only at 100 CP. It's not really going to be something you're going to spam because of the issues of how hard it is to get his charge up. So really, the Guts on self on phase start, as well as the tenacity he gets before attacking with his very low range, is probably the only relevant bets you'll get from him. He also it does have a bit of minor disruption between the oppression he inflicts on enemies as well as the collaterals left and right of them, and that can spread a bit when he gets his weapon change after his charge, so it's not like completely irrelevant, but it is largely irrelevant even though he does have that extended range. And he does also inflict a bit of flat damage when he is hit, which again he can sort of kind of occasionally not really take because he is a minor tank. But yeah, my ultimate recommendations for this unit is like not really to play around him, but rather just to exploit his unique things for other units who can take better advantage of other units. Primarily those that can copy the buffs that he has, which are quite rare, both Rage Plus and Rage. So ultimately, I just say, if you are actually a fan of Fafnir strats, bring him with Fafnir, although he's not the only one that can take them. There's also Oniwaka's base 5-star, as well as Nobumichi, which was provided here in the footage by Lynn. Thank you very much for that. And more recently, Wakon Tanka's Saturday variant, who copies charge or copies buffs when he's at 100 CP. You can also try to do some Guts spam theoretically, because as long as you can deny his charge, which Lin is also doing here with Eagle and Uck, although you can do the same thing with the Leak AR, you can indefinitely keep his Guts up as long as he doesn't actually charge with his all range. That's all I have to say about this wonderful unit from AGF that I'm sure everyone pulled for. So, what do you say, Milk?
Me on Manticore? I don't have himself.
Cool.
So like a lot of his thing isn't like relevant to me because I can't use the the hit mechanics.
Right, that's an important point. He's kind of hyper shit on support slot, which is why I actually needed to get someone else's footage for this, and it was kind of hard to find someone who had him. So thank you again, Lynn. Yeah. Very important for your contribution here. But you're right. A lot of the things that make him maybe relevant is only when he's attacking, and slotted before others. Nothing else then? Okay. Well, what do you think, Zalgus?
I feel like his base range is the biggest like killer of this kit, because like, you know, he has these wonderful combinations of buffs. Well, wonderful is probably pushing it a bit, but you know, limit and crit or limit and concentration are pretty nice combos to have. And because he's blow, he's gonna have a hard time getting any of them a lot of the time. So I mean, I guess you could try pairing him with people who extend his range, namely Sphinx or Summer Oz, but I don't know if you want to Summer Oz someone who's not like the main damage dealer. So probably Sphinx is the better option there. If you could extend his range like that, then he'd actually be giving out much better buffs, or he'd be giving buffs more reliably. Or I suppose you could use pulling units too. That's a thing, but no, it's. I mean, it's an alright kit. It's definitely no Echelon K, which is not a high bar to cross, but I would like it if his range wasn't low. Having to access his CS to get weapon change shot, just so that it's not such a pain in the ass to actually access his buffs, which are all short range buffs, or short duration buffs, by the way. Concentration is 2 turns, crit and limit are 1 turn, so you have to keep hitting things, which is annoying. So, yeah, I guess I would say just pair him with someone like Sphinx, and pretty much just Sphinx. Is there anyone else who really changes into something like Magic? I mean, I guess there's Kurogane for Snipe for 1 turn.
There's Summer Tan. That's like Snipe range, I guess.
I don't even remember what he does.
You move him and then like backward slash range, everyone turns into Snipe range. Yeah,
I guess that could work. But yeah, it's an okay kit, but it's really limited by that atrocious blow range.
Yeah, blow range with no pull and no movement and no weapon change without a CS is like kind of crazy work. You have to do a lot for him to actually pop off, considering that his amps are somewhat restricted in range. I don't know if it's worth using Fafnir with this guy. Like, yeah, you can copy Rage Plus and maybe crit if he just gives crit anyways when he's low. So it's just like, I don't know, rage from him, and every other buff is like he just gives it out to himself, or by himself rather. And you can't really copy the rage because this thing needs CP, and by the time he gets CP, Fafnir is already like looping a shit ton of buffs, and he's like gonna be permanently above the threshold where he can copy every ally buff. I mean, it's an okay kit all in all. It's just like a bit too much to work with in terms of like what he needs in order to function.
I think the timing of his release with the Amduscias Evo is kind of funny. It was like, yes, they're finally backtracking on this weird assumption that, low range relevance will ever come to you where enemies are just conveniently in front of you to take advantage of. And then Manticore is just like, I will continue Amduscias' shit legacy of that. So yeah, I don't have the highest opinion of Manticore, but apparently everyone says he's okayish objectively in very least, but I'm not a fan of him conceptually or design wise, but that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna go read out the chat if no one has anything else to say. Thank you for giving your thoughts.
He hates pretty boys.
He ain't pretty to me. Alright.
I mean, he isn't even... He's not exactly what I would think when I think of an Otome character myself. He's not nearly twink enough.
In the current slide right now, I'm only giving him this flattering sprite because the main one wasn't loading. He's kind of fucking ugly when he's bearing out his teeth in his default, so he is definitely...
I've only seen his base expression, so where he has his mouth closed, so...
That's not his base expression for his 5-star.
Oh, for his 5-star.
Yeah.
I actually did get him, as I mentioned, but I haven't even really given him a second look. Oh, actually, you can see it in the AUR footage.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It's like giving like that one line band that dresses like shitty kimono. I don't know how to describe it, but it's pretty cursed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, I'm gonna let that misunderstood reference slide by, and I'm just gonna read out the chat now. Talking about magic nukes, I hope they buff Valentine Boar. Next year they'll finally release a good unit during AGF at this rate. Surely. Woo! Another CS spammer. I like him more than Shamash at least. I mean, was Shamash a CS spammer? I don't even know. Why he's not a full furry? Absolute missed life wonders. Yeah, I am also not a fan of Kimono Mimi. Unknown components, Sugar Baby. Also, so weird that this Iranian half monster is counted as Agisa, but thanks, Pliny the Elder. If I recall, Manticore was first described by a Greek describing the history of parts of Africa. It's weird that I'm reading my own thing out loud like that. Yeah, or at least mistaking Ethiopia for India. He's originally from Persia, so Iran and Turkey, but a certain scholar classified him as coming from Africa. Based on his origins, I think that, I mean, that's the first recorded use based on the Greek account of the term Manticore. I'm not even sure if it was like, they speculated if it was accurate or not, but in the very first, in the very least, I don't think there was much Iranian description about it, or I couldn't find any based on my limited research, so it almost seems like a mess that originated from the Greek's description of some other foreign location, the exoticism, if you will. Yes, based probably on the Indian tiger. No, it was like, I'm starting to remember, was it like, no, I don't remember. It was like Percy and the Thundercats or some shit like that. Eta 5 can give him a short range, but I don't know if he's still relevant for anything besides that these days. He's honestly, Eta 5 kind of lost a lot of its relevance when dailies died, because that was just like the perfect quest for him to handle, and evasion in itself hasn't been as much of a problem without that. But there are other units that can give him weapon change now. It's not just Eta. There's also, of course, Sphinx, but more recently Tongurishner, if you don't like Sphinx or Eta. Shamash was the other AGF unit. Yeah, I'm aware. I just don't remember him being a board wiper. And Manticore's origins more interesting than his kit. You could say that about a lot of units in this game. But yeah, we're going to finish off.
You mean Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief?
No, that's not related. Something about Thundercats.
Thundercats.
Yeah, that's what he reminds me of. Look up Thundercats. It's very cursed, but it also just looks like Thundercats.
No, I know what Thundercats is.
Yeah, well, that's what it reminds me of. Anyway, we're moving on. We're finally going into the Halloween police topics. At least I think so. Yes, we are. We are actually talking about the Eclipse. I forgot this set of shit existed. We'll be starting off with the 3-star and 4-star ARs. This is going to be covered by Melkosmo. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're starting with the 3-star AR, right? So basically this 3-star AR does nothing. Okay, so let's talk about it. So one hit, you decrease 150 to 300 HP to hitting units at a 30 to 60% rate. And you have attack modifier of deal 1.2x damage to Stigma enemies. The restrictions are Azathoth, Ebisu, Long Slash, Blow, and Snipe. Okay, so this AR does nothing. At AR level 1, you have a 30% chance to decrease 150 HP. Okay, so basically nothing. And then the multiplier status is 1.2x. Again, basically nothing. There you go.
It truly is nothing. There's no other way to say it. We might as well just directly talk about the art rather than, showing the cut here. What do you guys think about the art?
Well, I think the art looks nice enough, subject aside.
It's fine.
The beast is in it, and it's ruined.
I don't know why Azathoth has Nial's meat cube.
I was wondering about that too, but it is indeed Nial's based on the story I'm reading so far. It does seem to be related to something about that. So in very least, this is actually an event that happens directly in the story, which is interesting in itself. Love to see these actual canon events being depicted. And the art style is, in the very least, accurate to depict each character. Ebisu looking like a human turd as usual. but that aside, we can move on
I don't
to
think it looks that bad.
it's difference of opinion. you don't like Hotei, I kind of hate Ebisu's guts. It's like that.
Jeez. Alright. Who was his artist anyways?
It's Goemon, doesn't it?
Oh.
Really?
Ebisu's, yeah.
Whoa.
Ebisus?
Yeah, I
As
mean,
in this
yeah.
art piece or
oh,
Ibisu's
this
artist?
one. No, not this art piece, but I don't know who drew this.
I was going to say, those fingers are not nearly what I'm liking enough to be Goemon's artist.
Okay, yeah, we can move on, I think.
Yeah, no one cares. Alright, moving on. Milk, go on. I could not get the official sprite from this from the wiki because it just failed to load, so enjoy this wiki graphic that has the frame still around it. Go ahead.
Are we talking about Toji Kengo?
Yeah.
Okay, so this AR also kind of does nothing. So you have a phased artifact of acceleration to self and allies at a 50 to 100%, and defense modifier of 0.8x damage from shot and snipe ranged enemies. The restrictions are Kengo Toji, blow slash, long slash. Okay, so I kind of lied in the sense that it doesn't really not do nothing, in the sense that you can like pair it with people with acceleration strengthening, like R19, but for most people, it's going to do nothing. Oh, right, there's also Summer Gangly, who has his 6x, acceleration strengthening. But yeah. For most people, having to roll for like a 50% acceleration in phase start is kind of shit, but I guess that's kind of normal for ARs, to be honest. The good thing about it is that it is a pretty big range for acceleration, so maybe you can keep this in your back pocket if they do more acceleration strengthening people. But otherwise, you can probably just use like somebody like Willy and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, there is a market for acceleration-based themes, but like half of them kind of perfectly self-sufficiently provide acceleration themselves, so a bit of questionable use in the end.
Also, it's also phase start.
50%.
I mean, if it's
The only person who might benefit from this is like if another ally was using it with like Summer Gangly. But Summer Gangly's like dog shit, even with his Givo being both thrust range and whatnot.
Imagine
I
Summer
keep
Gangly
thinking that
and
that dude has like
R19.
I keep thinking that dude has like extra horizontal movement, but he doesn't, and it's like crazy to me. Like you're literally a surfer, and you can only move like regularly.
It's too.
I mean, it's just there for the
fat.
babes.
That's because he's too fat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Affectionately, of
He
course.
is so fat, so
Jiggly.
I don't know. Okay. Whatever.
So
Yeah, that's all I have
soft.
for this thing.
Very good ham. Okay, sorry, I'm getting lost in thought here. What do you guys think of the art, at least? And I'm surprised you talked this long about the kid, honestly.
Stop right there, criminal son.
I don't like this artist. That's all I have to say.
Toji looks ugly. Like, uglier than usual.
Toji looks off-model, which is on brand for Toji, since he always looks
He
off-model.
looks a bit wider than usual, actually. I just realised his face doesn't look quite as thin as it normally does.
Perspective,
Surprise-
probably.
Surprisingly, this guy also drew like a furry in Crave Saga. And that was like kind of crazy to me because I'd only known them for like drawing shit like Okitaka and Live a Hero.
Yeah, I don't
Wait,
know.
is this Okitaka's artist?
Yeah, I think so.
Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this?
I'm telling you, it's like this guy is dangerous.
Okay, we can move on. Last 4-star of the batch. Go ahead and talk
Okay,
about
so
this.
it's me again.
Of course.
Okay, so this is a 4-star AR, which also kind of does nothing. So basically, before hitting, you apply regeneration to hit units at a 30 to 60% rate, and you have an attack modifier of deal 1.4x damage to regeneration affected enemies. So essentially you have at AR level 1 a 30% chance to deal 1.4x more damage. So not very big gains. The restrictions are Toji, Hotei, Ether, Nether. I guess you could also pair it with like buff reversal teams, but like there's surely better ways to do that than 30%. That's all I have to say about that.
What do you guys think?
Hotei is off model.
Hotei is fine even if he's off model because he looks like one of those Japanese.
He's like a clown. It doesn't really matter if he's off model.
He's cute. He kind of reminds me of that dessert brand from the Philippines, Goldilocks or something. When they have the goofy ass smile, which is fitting for his character.
Also, Toji, how come you get to have 2 AR appearances in one?
Yeah. Toji on the left looks bad. Just like this AR's effects.
This AR's effects is kind of hyper trash, and making it a 4-star version of 5-star one, which is blessing instead and advantage while healing effects, does not make it more justifiable. If you want to apply a fucking effect that lets you apply a buff on enemies, just use the Guts Reversal AR from Unbrighted Shop for free, maxable, guaranteeable. And if you want like a 1.4 times damage amp from an AR, there's like a few others that are like better at that point, like the Necros one that gives a instant 1.5 times to dazzle on the entire board or some shit like that. Don't use this AR. Just like never use this AR.
Halloween Ellie applies regeneration on hit.
Does she?
That makes this AR. Yeah, she does.
Does she apply to
she's
enemies?
water anyway, so
I don't even remember her applying it to enemies, but okay. She just quick.
Yeah, she has like this. I think she has healing reversal in the pyramid range. So that's
she does. The entire thing about her is that she gets to do that for free because it's like turn start or something.
Yeah, it's move phase end.
Cool. I'll be sure to equip this on Ellie once the attribute, the assignment surgery is complete.
Smelly.
Okay. We're gonna move on from these 4 stars. We'll just skip the chat since there's not too much so far and go directly into the 5 stars. This is
no one commented on this AR, by the way.
I mean, what's search? It's like everyone's a bit off model. At least Hotei looks nice, but that's just me. Alright, 5 stars. I think
Talk
it's
about
Zalgus
the
coming
funny
this.
noises. Talk about the funny noises that Hotei makes when you pull the AR.
Chunka 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 chunka.
You should have
Funny man.
fade out to your voice.
He does fade out, it's funny. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so 5-star ARs. I actually get to talk a bit about these, unlike the previous ARs, because there's a bit of nuance to them. Anyway, so the Alp Hotei AR, also known as the Halloween Alp Evo. So the first effect is concentration on move in slash range every odd turn. Concentration is an okay buff at level 1 because it still gives its 10% proc rate up. You're losing the attack buff portion of it. It's only like a 1.2 times attack buff, so that sucks. But the base rate at 80% is quite good, so it's enough to be considered reliable, I'd say. So if all you want is the proc rate up, I guess it's there for that. The other part is phase start taunt to self at 100%. This is the part at which buffs Halloween Alp. Halloween Alp has taunt strengthening, giving him attack and proc rate up for every taunt he has on him, including the normal taunt buff, which Halloween Alp normally doesn't get because he has a different taunt status that is stackable. So this means that Alp can get a head start on his proc rate increase with an extra 20% from this AR taunt. Also, since it's phase start, it takes effect for turn 1 for Alp's turn start buffs, which normally doesn't benefit from the taunt stack on that turn, because those are also turn start, I think. Is that right? His taunt stacks don't benefit that turn?
Yeah, because they're turn start, all of them. So they roll. His effects roll at the same time as them.
Which is dumb.
So this helps out. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Yeah, so this AR will help out get a head start on that and get that extra 20% boost for turn 1, turn 2. turn 3. I forget how long taunt lasts. But anyway, that's probably its biggest use case. The other units who have taunt strengthening can't actually equip this AR, except for one man, one wonderful unit alone, besides Halloween Out, can equip this AR and use taunt strengthening. Drumroll, it's Saturnus. Saturnus buff. Oh my god.
Oh,
so Saturnus has taunt strengthening for a 2x damage buff. Wow. Now, instead of 2k-ish, you can deal about 3.3k-ish. The weird numbers are because of Spirit. Totally worth it. You could equip Saturnus with a 5-star AR and have him deal a slightly larger amount of damage. So anyway, on a more serious note, it's mainly Halloween Alp who wants this AR. The concentration buff is a bit more general. Anyone who wants to move behind teammates can make use of it. Hotei, as one of the other feature unit on this AR, can make decent use since he needs to be moving for crit anyway. And you know, he has Omni movement, so he can definitely position for it. So he can grant both crit and a bad concentration. I guess both Tamatomos are also a choice, because both of them want to sit behind allies to buff them and also move. So this just adds another buff. Overall, it's a pretty niche AR, but it's not the worst. It actually has uses, unlike the 4 and 3-star ARs here, at least.
Okay. What do you think, Harvey?
I'm a bit conflicted. Like, I know what they're doing, and I'm not sure if I like what they're doing with
It's stupid.
not giving Alp a Schivo and then making this AR.
The Alice AR effect.
This is the second time Alp has had this, actually, because when early on, Alp got that Kuchi Alp AR, which assists Alp in getting his CS turn 1. So that's also like a skill Evo.
I mean, he got his own Evo too. Wasn't like Confusion or something?
Yeah, there's that at least. But yeah, I don't know why Alp keeps getting
Hope
these
for the future. Random
AR band-aids to his kit.
random pickup / date quest banner, he'll get his Evo. Trust.
They should have made his crit board wide and also guaranteed.
True. Now he might be able to compete with the 4-star welfare.
I don't think so.
I mean, I pulled this AR, and it's like kind of nice for event farming, but it's not needed because of Hotei's Schivo. So it's just like, yay! I might get to proc Ardor. And it's like just for Alp basically. Saturnus does not exist. It's an okay like whale AR because concentration does in fact scale, and the proc rate will be guaranteed. Outside of that, though, it's just like, yeah, this is just a Halloween Alp Schivo, or quote-unquote Schivo. If you actually got an actual Schivo, there would definitely be more than just phase start taunt.
I don't know, some of the Evos we've gotten before are pretty bad. But I would like to think for a 5-star, they would.
He's a 5-star, they would not... They give him something else, definitely. So, yeah.
Feeling the energy here tonight for this AR. Okay, what do you think, Milk?
I think it's pretty good on Harvey's Alp, considering that, like, apparently Harvey's Alp only misses 1 out of 8 times now for his crit and Ardor. So it's pretty ridiculous, I think, that Alp suddenly became like 87.5% consistent.
Just pretend Duel with the Game Master's AR doesn't exist.
I mean, I don't have it, so it doesn't exist to me. Other than that, yeah.
What do you mean you don't have it? What the fuck?
What do you mean? It's a 5-star AR.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Yule with the Game Master AR.
Oh no, I mean this AR. Yeah, I thought you wanted my thoughts on it still.
I do, but you know, it's just like, you know, my opinion is just like, bit disingenuous to give any praise to how Alp feels now, and we have just so much free options now that is already better than this.
Yeah, but Alp's cuter than Yule.
I actually think Yule's quite cute, but I'm kind of alone on that.
Also, yes, I was remembering right. Taunt does in fact last for 2 turns, so it's a shame that it's only buff for the first 2 turns before it stabilizes into his normal rates. But still, it's a 20% head start.
Yeah, and by the time it wears off, he'll have probably more taunt stacks to work with, unless you're like transitioning to the next phase, in which case it just refreshes.
Well, I do have a few initial comments. So, despite this being only usable theoretically or on the face on whoever equips it, you could also just use it on units that exploit statuses well in general. You could slap this on Krampus, Zhangxi variant, so that he just has taunt up infinitely, if you want that up for some reason. You could also slap this AR on Wakon Tonka Mugen, because everyone loves him, and give everyone else taunt, which opens the board for anyone else with taunt strengthening to take advantage. Including Zalgus Fashionista variant for 60% rate up, Amduscias for both healing every turn as well as 4 times damage up, Sanzo, Seepically or Alp for apparently they have a defensive version of taunt strengthening, and Taishakutan, who already applies taunt, but now you can do it without him being next to them. Outside of those 2 cases, just focusing on the concentration example, you know what that range looks like? It looks like the classic position for one of the units you want to be positioning, a triple column clear support type unit, particularly one that needs to move. There's not too much that fits that category as well as these restrictions, but the one that could benefit would be actually Masanori's Crossroad variant. He does already apply concentration, but that is only on arrival. So every other subsequent turn, he can actually start applying concentration to the allies ahead of him, while also just letting them benefit from the rest of his amps and rate up. So I'd say those are some pretty good synergies to consider. So this AR definitely doesn't just die and live by Alp.
Well, for Masanori, he can't really do anything on turn 2, because concentration wears off after the first turn, and then this AR only applies it on odd turns. So there's kind of like a turn where it doesn't do anything.
Just go for turn 3, I guess. Don't decide. It is something.
Didn't say it wasn't. I'm just pointing it out.
True.
Yeah.
Alright, this footage is spoilers.
We're getting into it, jeez. This is just the general footage bank. Alright, we're gonna talk about the last 5-star AR. This is going to be... let me look for it. The Alp Toji AR, which is also going to be talked about by Zalgus. Go ahead.
And continuing the joke from the previous AR, here's Halloween Toji's Evo. So, when appearing, CP to the entire board at a 100% rate. As far as CP ARs go, this is the absolute pinnacle of CP in one go. Most other ARs at base give 10 CP. The Shiro 5-star AR gives 15 CP on face start to self and a 2-square diamond radius. So that was the previous gold standard, if you wanted to call it that, for CP on ARs. So the main advantages, 2 advantages this AR has over the Shiro AR is that it gives double of the amount of CP at base and is completely global. So it works on wide maps and it isn't subject to positioning nonsense on tall maps, where if they spawn far away from each other it can miss. The disadvantage of this AR is that it only procs once. Shiro's AR will pull ahead in 3-phase maps, although your mileage may vary on whether that's much of a consideration or not, but there are some like CQs that do last more than 2 phases. So in a 1 or 2 phase map, this AR will generally be objectively superior, unless you for some reason don't want to CS on phase 1 but you need to CS on phase 2, and the additional CP on phase 1 would mess that up, which is like an edge case. But anyway, as for why it's a Halloween Toji Evo, on phase start, Toji drains up to 30 CP from allies, combined with this AR now supplying allies CP or when appearing. It's trivial for Toji to get his CS on turn 1, really, or at least turn 2, because if he drains 2 people, if like say they spawn far away, then he's going to be at 90 CP anyway. And also the AR grants an additional CS multiplier, further boosting Toji's CS. So yeah, pretty much mainly built for Toji, just to give his allies CP for him to get a quick head start on his CP gen, just like Alp getting a head start on his taunt. I get what they're going for, I guess, but don't know if it's that good. As for anyone else who wants to equip it, you can pretty much put on anyone if someone else in the team wants CP. It is a global CP boost after all. And since it has a CS damage multiplier, anyone who has a good CP or a CS that you actually want to fire off can equip it personally. I guess Haster is a choice. That's all I could be able to think of. But yeah, it's... I mean, 30 CP to the board is nice, and so you don't necessarily only need it if you have Toji, but it's obviously made for him. It's kind of dumb, in my opinion, that they keep doing this. Or that they did this twice in one banner. But, whatever.
Well, not only that, but like, both of the 5 stars got like double shafted. Because the Toji Skivo AR doesn't have Toji as the icon. And the Alp Skivo AR doesn't have Alp as the icon either. So it's like, very peculiar choices.
I can
I don't know.
feel Life Wonders cackling from the headquarters right now.
Oh, should I say something about the actual effect? Yeah. It's a very good effect, like not outside of Toji anyways. I think we're getting to a point where like, you don't really need too much CP gen, like, or like a dedicated CP battery to like get people's charges up that quickly. Like, even people who like just dabble with like a bit of CP gen, in like this AR, you can probably get everyone's charge up within like 2 or 3 turns. It is a pretty good whale AR again, but it's also very good at just level 1 as well. 30 CP board wide is not a negligible amount. It's quite a hefty amount for most teams.
For the poor man's leveled up AR, you could always have one in the support slot and then one in the main slot if you happen to have one.
Oh my
and then you get 60 CP on turn 1. Or alternatively, have 2 mildly leveled up ARs and then you could get 100 CP on turn 1.
Just use Lynn's support with AR, and then there you go. 60 CP from 1 AR. It's fucking gross. But yeah, you can actually use this on like 4-star Alp, so he can get his CS up because he has like 80 CP on arrival.
Oh wow, he gets 2 skill evos in one banner.
Doesn't he already have like that 3-star ARs that does the same thing?
Yeah, I mentioned that, the Kuchi Labe AR.
Yeah.
Or, not Labe, Kuchi Alp AR. Way too used to saying Kuchi Labe.
Yeah, that one's ugly. And this one is actually useful for your team. So there you go. And that means that he doesn't need to equip that one. So you can get something else on him.
You've been quiet, Milk. What have you been cooking?
I mean, everybody kind of said it, everything already. It's like a pretty good AR with the 30 CP, and even my meme of using the AR on support and main got stolen. So I can't make that joke anymore either.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I actually think it's good in concept, but I don't have a team for it. So that was kind of surprising. like I thought that it's like good in principle, but I never really thought beyond like
well, what team I'm going to use it for. So yeah, there you go.
I see. I mean, I put some thought into teams because, you know, it's should be good in the same places that the Shiro AR is, except not really, right? Because at least those traditional strats expected to board wipe every turn. So in a sense, it's almost kind of like, at least at the face, lives and dies by, you know, the cristine like expectation of just wiping everything on turn 1, and it doesn't matter after then. But there are situations where, you know, it could extend beyond that. So first and foremost, this does make it a lot more feasible just by having this AR to invest in literally any guild for CP increase now, or rather guild affiliation investment. You only need to invest like, I guess, 7 into CP, which is, you know, still a lot, but not as ridiculous as a full 10 investment in CP increase to get an instant board wipe from any guild. And the more copies you have of this, the more forgiving that the discount is. So that's an option for the super long game that only those that own this AR can enjoy. Outside of that, this AR is probably the most potent with units that just have the charge loop built into their charge. So those that don't necessarily get their charge very easily the first time around, but can loop into it very well. The most egregious example of this would be Amaterasu's 5-star. So I am yet again spreading the Amaterasu propaganda. She's good. She gets a ridiculous amount of her charge for every unit she gets, whether they're alive or dead. And getting her charge up faster is always good. Shut up, Harvey. I know that's you. Believe in the Amaterasu propaganda.
Does that even show up on the stream?
No, but I can tell it's Harvey. But besides her, there are other few units that are actually inclined to charge looping as well, including Toji himself, although, you know, the enemy does need to have some CP. It is technically possible to, like, finagle something to make that work. There are other units, like, what's it called? Jurong, his 4-star base form, does actually steal just like Toji, so you could work something into that as well. And units you probably forgot about, such as Akiha Gongyan's Dragon variant, does have like some CP chargeful every time he gets his charge up. So I think he actually has like burn strengthening or some shit like that. Or so that's how he gets charge up quickly after his first charge. And lastly, scraping the bottom of the barrel here is the Senri mob, who does have that like cheeky gut spamming meme if he can actually get their charge up the first time. There's also a couple of other options, such as I don't know why I put these guys on a separate line, but let's see. Wakon Tanka. Oh yeah, this is more of a pair setup, but they would work well with the classic pair of Wakon Tanka's Fashionista variant along with Licho's 4-star variant or 4-star version, so that you could just get that board wide charge filling experience from Wakon Tanka's Fashionista variant. So that works pretty well, but that did have the problem, of course, of building their charge up in the first place. So it's less of an issue now with this. And again, anyone in the team can slap this on. It doesn't even have to be the ones that are participating in the wipe itself. And lastly, you know, we talked about this AR being helpful, and you don't need to bring other charge fillers. But, you know, you could also just bring charge fillers directly to make it like more helpful, because they work better in synergy together rather than just like, you know, through replacing each other. So yeah, go ahead and bring this AR with something like Marine Behemoths or Christmas Ryota for like starting with an instant 80 CP and then be like super ridiculous easy to get your charge with anyone at that point. And then of course you can just fill in any remaining slots with the Shiro's Oath equip, as well as many other equips that give you that phase start CP. So there are many options for that this AR just makes more feasible now, at least for that first charge.
Saturnus can also equip this AR.
He doesn't exist, so let go. But yeah, as for my thoughts on the art, I do think it is sharp, nice. I at least like that they kept the Alps fluffiness and he looks fairly accurate. I do think Toji might be over stylized into being too sharp though. Otherwise, it's an okay AR, just like how I feel about the rest of the ARs. They look okay. except for Ebisu, but otherwise not particularly exceptional either.
Why does Toji look like he's tipping his fedora that fell off?
Because he's a gentleman. Yeah.
My lady.
I kind of like the art. It's probably one of the areas where Toji looks better.
Alpa's cute. End statement.
Alp looks exactly the same
Yeah.
as his like 5-star art.
I
Feels
mean,
kind of uncanny.
it's better to look exactly the same than the other ARs that take creative liberties with how he looks.
I think there's like a
No, it's literally like
contrast
copy paste.
between Alp and the background that I don't really like just in a art style kind of way.
I sort of see it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is like my favorite art out of this AR banner. I don't think it's my favorite like in the entire game, but yeah, I like it.
High praise. High praise. Okay, please close off this section of the discussion, Zalgus, by reading out the chat for all that we've talked about.
Talking about things we hate to see. Wow, more stigma advantage for Saturday Night Hackman. I don't even remember Hackman's kit anymore besides Babby's first all range.
All range,
All range.
and it's for 3 turns only because of the arrival condition, and it's guaranteed with stigma. And
Also known as just use 3 or 5-star Oscar.
well, you can shuffle Hackman around at least, but that's pretty much the only advantage, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but I could also just remove Oscar and gain a turn of invulnerability for free.
But then you're not wiping. Never mind that, Hackman will stop wiping on turn 3.
And also, she's probably not going to wipe anyway because she's weak.
He has stigma at least. That's more than Oscar. Well, Oscar's 3-star anyways.
Yeah, he has order.
Does he? On his 3-star?
Yeah, I forget if it's to himself actually,
It's not.
but
I can't
he
believe this.
definitely spreads it to allies. Damn. Oh well. Anyway, shot and snipe resistance. Smile emoji. America needs that. What was that called? Alp, Lisa. Do Alp.
Dual self, but yeah, sure.
Ebisu just wanted an excuse to be named in public. I do like how Kengo looks. Halloween Alp got this AR instead of a Skivo. Damn, I'm moving quick. At least I got it for him. Wow, an Amp on 1.9k attack. Yeah, I know. He's gonna be so good now. Sanhu. Sans. ARs, if not 4-star, are not a replacement for a skill Evo. I mean, I'd like to say that if they're not, or that even if they are 3-star, they shouldn't be a replacement for a skill Evo, because I definitely don't want to be using the AR slot exclusively to power up Alp. As in, like, the 3-star AR for base Alp. It's done. Oh hey, an actual good AR. It's moving so fast I can't tell which ones it's talking about. I'm assuming it's talking about the CP AR. Summon Behemoth plus this AR for instant ATCP. Yeah, there's you can replace Summon Behemoth for Christmas Ryota. Well, as in with him on the team. For lots of CP. And then slap another one in the team's in the support slot. Suck my shaking my damn head
That is not what the acronym stands for, Zalgus.
at all this Saturnus propaganda right now.
Suck my dickhead.
Yes.
Cool.
I mean, that'd be. I feel like that would be something a Brit would say, but never mind. Isn't Hakumen's all range only 2 turns because it's a when appearing buff?
That is the
yeah.
case indeed. He could theoretically get her charge on turn 3, but yeah, good luck with that. She doesn't have too much chargeable options. She might actually be
Just
an
use
unlimited
this.
option. Oh, yeah, surely. But yeah, we are going to finally talk about the Halloween evolutions of the units that obviously deserved it. We'll be starting off with Hotei. This topic is going to be led by me. Me. Hold on, let me open up the right footage. Oh, this is right footage. I'm done. So, there you go. Right slides. We are going to be talking about Hotei's evolution. The permanent 4-star of this banner. So, if you actually liked how his base kit was, or even post evolution now, consider getting him through the anniversary tickets for the permanent 4-star exchange that we get every anniversary. So, this unit now received an evolution that first and foremost upgraded his heal effect. So now it applies not just to himself, but now he also applies that 300 HP to allies encircling him. In addition to that, he gained a bunch of new effects, including Prayer to self on arrival, Nullify debuff on self on phase start, Crit plus to allies encircling him every time he moves, but only when he's at full charge, and 20 CP to self post. So ultimately, what does this mean? Well, first off, let's talk about the rules that are new or have changed. The thing we need to look at briefly is just the prayer is the thing we need to start with. Every other ability that I'll be talking about after will be affected by prayer, at least for the first 4 turns, where they'll be, or maybe it's 5 turns, well, they'll be boosted by 10%. So he does have that early activation rate up bonus. Outside of that, he does act as an improved ally amp. So as we know, Hotei has traditionally been used as this unit that can amp his allies through his buff steal. So he did this through buff reclaiming. He gives all enemies crit on phase start. They can't actually take advantage of it though, because crit expires when their turn to move actually begins. However, he is able to redistribute that buff after stealing it from an enemy 2 squares ahead of him to the allies encircling him at a guaranteeable 90% rate after he moves. He is able to do something similar on his charge, where he instead steals whatever buff he can for every enemy he hits and spreads it to the allies encircling him. On top of that, he now gained an additional amp, which stacks quite well, a crit plus on top of his crit. It is a lot more restrictive though, because it is only for, while guaranteed at 90%, it is only at when he is at full charge of 100 CP. Luckily, he did gain the new role, or new aspect of him that lets him build his charge up fairly quickly at 20 CP to self, guaranteedly at 90% every time he moves. So, in addition to his improved ally amping, he is now also an improved tank, because in addition to his base aspects of having protection to allies adjacent to him every time he moves, he now can heal allies as well, so that legendary combination of both healing and applying defense buff is the only way you can start actually talking about having a defensive team. And in addition to that, he also just got that Nullify debuff and on himself on phase start, and he can also apply Drain to combatants every time he attacks them at an 80% rate. Not the best tanking aspect, but he does have other tanking aspects that synergize with it, technically speaking. But yeah, he does have a few unmodified roles, so the things that have not changed include the fact that he is personally a minor damage dealer. He does have that huge snipe penalty of 0.26 times damage times his attack stat. It's only increased by his crit to self, which is only barely cancelling it, guaranteed on the first turn, and at a very shake rate of 20% on every subsequent turn of each phase. Additionally, he does have that powerful ability that works well with his reclaiming, buff reclaiming role of his, of being a repositioner, where he has extended movement in all directions by 1. And lastly, he can, in addition now to charge filling himself, he has always been able to charge fill his allies by applying Arousal to allies adjacent to him every time he moves at guaranteeable 90%, as well as on his charge give 6 CP to allies adjacent to him. Although that has been slightly improved now that he does have his own personal quick charge. Recommendation-wise, he obviously works with your classic triple column clear setup. and more so with a hybrid setup where you have both clears as well as supportive units, because his own amp is largely inconsistent since only his crit is only going to be used for the first turn towards allies, and he may not have enough amp or enough charge up time to really exploit that crit plus. It could be useful for like very specific phases if you can time it properly. He can also handle skirmishes with improved tanking and extended movement that he had before. You may even want to do something cheeky, like take advantage of permanent crit plus to allies by having him miss always, which is possible but just by positioning him in a column where there's no enemies, or using someone like Marduk's base 4-star to push enemies out of the way. That is the totality of my remarks on Hotei. What say you, Harvey guys?
I knew it.
What?
I knew it.
It's been a while.
Me. I do like the Skivo. I think it's what I would want for units in terms of like they should be more consistent, and also if they needed it, they should also have something that like pushes their value ceiling a bit. And for Hotei's case, it's prayers, so his crit share is more consistent, and also the CP conditional for his crit plus thing. And also, he also has an avenue to actually reach that via CP after moving, which is very nice. Would I use them? I'm not sure. I think we would need more content in the game for me to think about experimenting with them. But I think he's a fairly good 4-star pick now. If you don't have him, he's gonna be a good pick for Anniversary.
Will this be going on your tier list that you won't make?
Yeah, that I will not make. It'll just be in my head, so have fun using telepathy on me.
Will you also have the funny dancing letters?
We're waiting, Harvey, eagerly.
In your head?
In my head, yeah. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we have like these units who like dabble in TP gen. Think like Summer Artelon's Unction Strengthening and Summer Labe's Ardor and Arousal, as well as some CP support from that 5-star year that we just talked about. It's actually quite feasible for him to reach that 100 CP threshold for his crit plus now, just by like playing normally if you wanted to.
The prospect of getting both crit and crit plus on turn 1 sounds pretty nice, if you ask me.
It's a bit hard to time, but if you have like a bunch of hybrid supports at column clears that also give you a bunch of charge fill, like in the team I'm currently using for the demo, it's like, it's possible, not really in a farming kind of way, but you know, it's possible.
Wrong. Just equip 2 ARs of the Halloween or Alpen Toji AR that are leveled.
It's more possible than like Sanzo's on miss Shenong healing AR.
Why
so
are
gets,
people
like,
fucking trying to make that work? I was having a migraine when people were doing like, don't you have anything better to do? What are you doing? Jesus. Awful synergy.
If it works, it works. But yeah, I could maybe see myself using them in like a future free quest team. Maybe. If they decide to push out harder content.
I mean, he's always been good for farming. This doesn't technically change his farming use besides more reliability out of the box.
That is the thing that prevented me from using him, so.
True. I actually think I did redeem him like ages ago, and then I never used them. So this might retroactively redeem me if I do ever pull him out for farming at some point. Milk, what say you?
Yes. I never really liked Hotei when like using him, to be honest. Mainly because like this aside from like the unreliability, there's like the aspect where you have to like kind of care about your enemy positioning as well that I didn't really jive with. I do think that the fact that you can get both crit and crit plus is pretty cool though, especially on a 4-star. So I think it's a pretty strong Evo, and maybe we'll see him being used more, but I don't know. I kind of feel like his usage is kind of questionable still. I'm not sure if the Evo particularly fixed it, but prayer is nice.
Well, in regards to the finickiness of him being enemy positions specific, I think it's like an okay trade-off for farming because you know where they're gonna spawn anyways. Plus, it's also like, unlike Lianon, it's for the entire team, and you can be a lot more generous with the positioning of your allies. They don't need to be all ahead of him. They could also just be like directly beside him or directly behind him too. So it's like, there's a trade-off, yeah, it doesn't work for every quest, but for the ones that it does, he technically offers like more options than other supportive comp players.
But yeah, we'll see, I guess. I don't know how I feel about him.
True.
Still.
Hotei will live up to the light at some point. Until then, I'm gonna read the chat. Where are we at? Got the 5-star AR for Alp. Congratulations, Prisma.
Which one?
Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna ask. I think it's a pretty decent buff. Very good with your Christmas Benten. I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Answer. Yeah, I know. You want?
Use your ticket on Oscar.
She's not a permanent 5-star, so you can't use a rainbow ticket on her.
I said on Oscar.
Oh well, yeah. You wanted to like Hotei's skill evolution more than you do, but that 100 CP crit plus check occurring before the CP gain effect hurts so much. At least guaranteed prayer is nice. Well, as Harvey put it, it's not just the guaranteed prayer, it's also just the guaranteeing of the base part of his kit, making him better for farming in general. You don't need to skill seed investment whatsoever. Just if you have him, he's already good for farming now. Does it help that crits just becomes so much easier to spread thanks to Yule, Kusha, and Sanzo? I still don't believe in the Kusha propaganda, but
Kusha's thing is 90% base with the glint on miss, I'm pretty sure. No, wait, he has face rate concentration, yeah. Okay. So that's it. So he has face rate concentration, so that bumps his crit rate to 90%. And he needs to mess for glint if you want to like guarantee it without skill seeds.
that sounds like cancer. No thanks.
I mean, I've got some okay use out of him, but yeah, he's definitely not easily 100% reliable or anything.
I got him on his release banner, and I never once thought he was particularly exceptional. So I'm always surprised when people are just like, "Oh, I want Kusha. He's actually really good. He's gonna carry you." And it's like, what? Where's this coming from? Whatever.
Are you just saying this because you don't like him because he's just issue adjacent?
Doug, do you really like? What kind of like characterization do you have imagined for me? It's not like that. What the fuck?
He hates twigs.
Well, that's neither here nor there. That's not the first thing I think of when I see Kusha. Just he's a calm clear that doesn't actually do anything too particularly exceptional.
Is he a column clear?
Yeah,
I always imagine him more as just the buffing.
That's like his entire thing is to like move in and he gets shot range and he gives crit to his allies adjacent, which he has to move for that. So it's like they're better off.
I think the issue is that his only amp is concentration for himself. So you're moving him for shot range, yeah, but
he's like
his own damage is like not that great. I think he needs to apply charm, maybe. I forgot if he does more damage against charm. I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, he's technically a complicator in the same way that fucking Tsukiyomi 5-star was, in terms of he has his own damage kind of, but like not really. There's just like weakness or something plus his infernal advantage. But technically usable, and as long as he has that move-in thing, then the others can just focus on being supportive ally amps, such as was like a Katobopas or some garbage like that. Don't use Katobopas.
Yeah. I can see you all.
Whatever the fuck his attack app is so bad.
Also, like, Pusha just has that problem with synergy issues of, like, crit and crit plus overstepping two things. Oh, you can only take advantage of one.
But yeah, my issue was just like, what was it? Consistency for proc rates. And I can see Yul being comparable, but Crusher and Sanzo are like both at this 90% base rate, which is kind of icky.
Just use Yule.
I don't want to use Yul. You'll never make me use that cancer
Just
dog.
Harvey, it's 2024. You gotta welcome people with mental illnesses in. It's just how it is. Okay, we're gonna be moving on to the next topic after I read the chat briefly. Did I already read it? I'm not even sure.
There's one more comment.
Yeah, Big Booba Evo, very cool. Yeah, let's move on to the next evolution.
Chunka chunkas.
Chunka chunka. We are moving on to Ebisu's evolution. This is going to be covered by one of you, whoever's doing it. Go ahead.
It is me.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so Ebisu. So Ebisu got a skill evolution, which makes him a little bit more consistent, or quite more consistent. So his first buff is that after buff, he now applies freeze to enemies in a shot range at 70% versus the original 50%. And his face start glint is now guaranteed from 90% to 100%. So you don't need a skill seed anymore for that. He also actually has another separate freeze activation after buff now, and a 3x3 square to enemies in front of him at a 50% rate. And after that, he has move phase and spirit to himself at a 90% rate. So basically, this is a junk buff that's used to activate his other after buff effects. Before hitting, he applies arousal to himself at an 80% rate. This is another junk buff that's 1 turn long. So this is also to activate the after buff effects. And he has two more new after buff effects. One is applying madness to enemies on the entire board at a 20% rate. And the other is decreasing 3k HP, 3000 HP to enemies on the entire board, but it's at a very, very, very low 10% rate. Okay, so what do I think about this Evo? Because I think it's actually pretty fun. While stuff like the madness and the flat damage are very unreliable, the fact that he has spirit and arousal to himself makes him a lot more consistent, I think. Especially if he's hitting something versus like his on miss mode. And the guaranteed glint is really nice to have because what is it? I mean, because there's been some times when I just miss the glint and it's like really annoying. The after buff freeze in a 3x3 square is also, I think, fairly nice because that means you have the ability to apply freeze to the entire board. And if you like position him correctly in like 1 turn. Like if you move him from the 2nd to the 4th column in like a wide map, you can potentially apply freeze to the entire board that way. The thing about madness is that you only need to get the proc off once. So this is a good effect, but I would not try to shoot for the 3k HP one. Because even if you use something memey like Smoky God, the payoff isn't really worth it. So I would just take it as free potential damage.
No calling out my footage.
Other than that, when I was trying to play with him, he's fun to use, but he's still a little weird, I think. Because due to like him basically being a nun unit, you kind of have to plan around your team a bit to like get more range. So
that's why I don't really like the Smoky God combination, because you're kind of like playing with two none units. So that's something to keep in mind, is that even if you do all these things, you still have to like make sure that your team has enough range to do stuff. I guess I shouldn't like ignore that Cherno exists, because that's one of the main reasons why people care about freeze so much nowadays, is that Cherno's flat damage of like 10k after hitting something is still like the strongest flat damage in the game, I think, aside from like main quest Jarl. So he might help with Cherno due to that board-wide freeze I mentioned, but there is that trade-off that you're kind of sacrificing attack range by using him. And I think that's it. I think I would have liked an increased rate on his bind, but the fact that he's more consistent and he's also more interesting due to like even like these meme effects of madness and flat damage, I think this is a good Evo. It's not like the most broken thing, obviously, considering what we have next, but yeah. I think that's it.
Thank you, Milk. I think I'll actually take the lead for this one, since I haven't taken the lead for any yet. The lead follow-up, rather. This is... I agree with Milk, it's strange, but like, Ebisu's base kit was also strange. Even now I still don't really know how to describe it. Like, when do you use Ebisu? He's just like... He has this this modular column debuff thing, and now it's like a bit modified to be expanded range, and now he has these board-wide effects, and like, when do you use him? I don't really know what to use him, to be honest. He does a lot. I don't think it's bad, but he does.
Event Miniaki, but you don't have him.
I personally think that Ebisu still has that niche of being able to do when appearing bind, and that's like the only time. That's like, I think he's still the only unit who can do that, but I don't think there's ever been a use case for that, unfortunately.
Well, that hasn't really even changed with his evolution, besides slightly more reliable with Flint guaranteed now.
Yeah, that's why I would have liked, the bind being more prominent, but I'll take like the freeze extra range, because, it was like very stupid that, you put in all this work and then you get like 2 lines worth of freeze. Okay.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's like sure. It didn't make him like, that much stronger, but I'll just take it.
I just realized that he has like 2 different lines for freeze, and they're both like after buff shit too. Like, he has the shot range freeze at 70%, and then the 3x3 freeze but for 50%. Is that intentional?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's like one of those concentrated areas of more likelihood. And like Shiva's localized range of burn or advantage or some shit like that. So it's not unprecedented for them to have design like this, I think.
I don't like that in particular. I think probably should have just like went with a different debuff in the middle, in my opinion. I was trying Ebisu with like this buff cycling team. The issue with that was that they were all like 5-star units that just kind of carried his fat ass the entire way, so he didn't really get to do much. I guess the madness was like kind of nice because it was easier to predict how the enemy was gonna move towards me.
If you can get it off.
Aside from that, it's a little lacking in terms of like giving him something more to do in quests. Like, he just kind of sits there and eats your buffs, and you get to roll for 3k flat damage. Yeah,
he's like just like in his base kit. I feel like he's lacking cohesiveness just sitting there is kind of how I feel every time Ebisu is brought out. Like, you're not really bringing him because he's particularly the best at anything, and it's not like his effects are bad, but they're just also like you don't really. It doesn't really matter if you go out of your way to bring them. Like what? It's weird. He's weird
cohesive. He's cohesive in that his rates are all fucking atrocious.
It's like giving Summer Maria in terms of being all over the place and not really cohesive.
Like, these rates are like so bad that like they're the sort of rates you would see on someone with a gimmick, when holding X buff greatly increase proc rate, like Fashionista Sathogwa or whoever. I'm sure there's another example. But Ebisu doesn't have that, so now he's just left with 10% and 20% and 50% and 70%, and it's awful.
It's obvious why they did it. It's because it's like, ooh, it's after buff. It's more exploitable than usual. Kind of like why they gave Triton shit rates for his evasion. Wait, you didn't hear that? But yeah, it is technically more exploitable than even attacking someone with like a magic range unit at that point. But no, they're testing the waters to see how exploitable it is. I do think 70% freeze and having 2 chances of inflicting it at the same time with another freeze stack does make him actually somewhat reliable on top of his glint and giving him several buffs for farming. But are you gonna be bringing him for farming just to like freeze like 1 or 2 columns? Well, like what? I don't understand when you bring him.
My issue with him was always that like he's so positional based and also like luck based at the same time. It's just like kind of a hassle to get him to work most of the time. So you just like focus on one aspect of his kit, which is like the one appearing bind meme, and like that's it.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I guess his reflect debuff is also quite nice and natural, but I think Faust also has something like that now, so who cares? Anywho, you can read out the chat, Milk.
Okay. Where did we leave off again?
Big Booba Evo.
Big Booba Evo? Jesus.
It wasn't that far back.
Yeah, I thought we went further back than that. I was like, where is this? Okay, never mind. I skill seeded Ebisu after affiliation and guild transfer. Oh, thank you. I was thinking that skill seeds would be good on him, but yeah. God, what the hell is this Skevo? Freeze teams already have more reliable methods of applying freeze, and the other debuffs are in laughable rates without stacking like a more billion buffs on Ebisu. No, I think Ebisu is actually fairly consistent. Like, due to that glint, it's like an after buff 60%, so you only need to have like 2 buffs, and it's already fairly consistent. Approved public indecency Evo. It really doesn't help that if he's not front and center, Ebisu only spreads freeze as well as 4-star Yoshito, who can at least hit more than 1 unit at once without using charge. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about Yoshito. I kind of feel like he's kind of in a similar like role of being awkward to use, so I don't think that argument is really strong actually. Ebisu here and Summer Dagon can spread board-wide confusion and madness respectively. I don't know what memes you can do with that, but you can do something, I guess.
You could also just fear them.
Yeah. I don't think Summer Dagon is a particularly like strong unit either, so I think that is kind of lacking. So yeah.
Oh right, the comment about like other 4 stars with freeze effects. I just remembered now. If I wanted like a luck based freeze applier, I would just use like Kokopelli.
Oh right, him.
Yeah. I don't really I still don't really believe that, there's like better ways of getting freeze. I think freeze is actually kind of hard to get. Like, yeah, there's Cherno, but if you're using Cherno, you're kind of like it's still a little weird. And like,
Jamboree
Like,
Moritaka.
No one's using Jamboree Moritaka. Let him go.
I am.
Do not read that last comment.
Yeah, I
oh my
side
god.
Appropriate username.
Yeah, like the list is actually fairly small. You know,
Are we trying to freeze here? It's not like. Are we just trying to help Chernobog here or something? Chernobog can do it perfectly fine on his own.
It's just a matter of like what kind of amps we can overlap, I suppose.
I mean, Cherno's is 70%, so that's what I mean.
Just
Is it? I thought it was 80%.
I thought it was 80% too.
Nope, it says over here, before hitting, apply freeze. Near hit units. Oh, I mean the one behind.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like the one, like, you know, he's actually hitting is 80, but like the people behind him is actually 70%. It's not like the most consistent, you know. I guess he might have glint. I think he had like a... No, never mind, he doesn't have glint. So yeah, it's actually a fairly small list of units who can freeze, so I don't believe that argument.
I mean, there's...
But memes, Dagon drains HP, Cherno drains HP with freeze. Don't you see the vision, Zini, 3 times? Yeah, the vision.
Yeah, the hallucinations.
Or like the voices with this person.
Okay.
I kind of actually do think, though, that the board-wide flat damage is kind of funny. Like, when you think about it in context with, like, how Fushi's, like, regular 5 had that fucking meme-ass flat damage every 8 turns.
Useless. I guess he's better than Fushi in that respect.
And then, like, okay, we just have to buff Ebisu, like, 7 times by 8 turns and get that thing to proc for the same effects. It's, like, kind of that meme category.
I mean, I got it going, kind of.
I just noticed that your team doesn't have a mover in it.
I just brought the big ones. I brought the Bigfoots because, I mean, you reminded me that the other Bigfoot also just gives a bunch
Big
of shit
feet.
to them. Shut up, Zalgus. They both give a bunch of buffs just by existing. Although I did move base Bigfoot a bit too much since part of his is F stationary. But yeah, they do give like a crap ton of exactly 1 turn buffs that are unique. And, you know, Spooky God's just there to help make sure the first turn has that much more impact. Which is why I didn't really care he immediately died in phase 3, because it's like his job is done. But yeah, I'm kind of tired of Ebisu and all these other topics. Can we already move on to the one and only good topic from like literally this entire past 2 months?
If you're so excited about it, you should have taken it. But I mean, I read plenty for it.
I'm gonna mansplain every single thing you missed, so get ready for it. Alright,
Also, that guy bringing up Hemavart just made me realize he's like one of the only 3 stars with 2 damage amps. I have to keep that one in mind.
okay. Jesus Christ. We're gonna be talking
We're
about...
gonna roll for that.
Just let it go, no.
I mean, he has it on hit too, at 50% rate.
Alright, please, no more Hemovat talk. Let's talk about Azathoth. Go ahead.
Right, so it was kind of funny. You know how you guys were talking throughout the Evos about how you enjoy improved consistency and upping damage values on a existing unit, and then talking about how it's nice that they improve the consistency of Glint and all that. Well, yeah, the real star of the show is here. Halloween Azathoth has received a second unique Evo, because obviously he needed it. As a reminder, prior to receiving this Evo, Halloween Azathoth was already quite good. He was incredibly disabling to the enemy team with skill lock at a high rate and forced enemy weapon change to long slash, while also being functionally immune to debuffs and dealing good damage, and also being able to provide team defense with evasion to self and allies on hit. And now, first of all, they changed his glint from phase start to turn start, and it's still at 100%. This gives him infinite glint, barring it being removed. Given that Azathoth already has multiple 90% in his kit, this just serves to effectively make those 100%. And that skill lock, that's 80%. Now that's permanently guaranteeable with skill seeds. So anything 80% is now just very easily guaranteeable. This is a boon that almost no one receives. The people who do have turn start glint usually have it at atrocious rates ranging from 50 to 70, like Hephaestus and X-Pollux and Kanan Robinson. And also, they're not as powerful as Azathoth anyway. As I was saying, X-Pollux and Kanan Robinson are definitely not disabling the entire enemy board on turn or on phase start. And Azathoth here just gets unconditional permanent glint, so that's cool. His crit from turn 6 onwards, was it turn 6? Yes, turn 6 onwards, got turned into crit plus instead, which is just a straightforward damage buff. But by making it a much rarer buff, it's actually a much bigger buff than this would initially suggest. There are plenty of units who give crit out, any living thunder unit, Sanzo, Hotei, etc. But the number of crit plus buffers, that is much lower and much more restrictive, although it's ironic that Hotei got that, and Sanzo also has that. There's lots of like CP restricted skills or HP restricted, or it requires movement or strict positioning like Christmas Choji. So yeah, by having crit plus instead of crit, that's quite a big buff to flexibility. So that's great. But also attached is now Vanity on turn start at 90%. So Azathoth has this ramping mechanic where every turn he can be debuffed to gain a 1.2 times damage buff, stacking up to 6 times and lasting indefinitely from then on, as long as he keeps getting debuffed. Before, this was kind of annoying to work with, since you'd need to either let Azathoth get hit, or you'd need to bring someone who can debuff him. But now, Life Wonders has blessed Azathoth. I'm saying this so many times I'm going to start tripping over the name. They blessed him with turn start Vanity. Vanity was a debuff added in Ugolunak's event, and it's a useless debuff that does nothing. It lasts for 1 turn, and it exists to trigger debuff effects. So now, every turn, Azathoth will trigger his own stacking attack buff, because he'll be giving himself Vanity repeatedly. So again, much more flexibility. He can now ramp himself without needing someone to assist him, whether it's the enemy or the ally. Even if it were some other debuff, by the way, it wouldn't even matter, because Azathoth would just immediately remove it, because he just removes debuff off of himself. So, in the event the enemy has some advantage to Vanity or debuffs, Azathoth doesn't care about that anyway. He is not a vain child. Now, there is a small gap in this kit where his Vanity is at 90% rate. And so, because Glint and Vanity are both turn start, Azathoth might miss that turn 1 Vanity. And Life Wonders said, perish the thought. So, they also put phase start concentration to replace the phase start Glint, ensuring that Vanity is always 100%. So, in addition to being a damage buff, that's another proc rate buff that Azathoth just innately has. He just innately has 20% proc rate for the first 2 turns of every phase, and then infinite 10% boost. Even without skill seeding, he's functionally immune to debuffs for the first 2 turns as a result, and he also skill locks at a 100% rate, while having an 80% chance rate, which is quite high, to give himself double attack buffs when he gets hit, and also ramping himself up in damage 100% of the time. Also, this further boosts his evasion to self and allies chance, because he needed that, obviously. And to top it all off, Azathoth has Confusion on hit, because why not? It's 70% rate, which means it requires skill seeding, but it's so extraneous to the rest of his kit that it doesn't even really matter. Like, there's not even that much to say about the Confusion part. So yeah, this Evo is obviously completely absurd. With permanent Glint, Azathoth is really effortless to make immune to all debuffs. He really only requires skill seeds, as well as being able to get 100% skill lock, also effortlessly. And his damage has been made even more reliable, with Vanity automatically triggering it, guaranteeing his stacking buff always stacks and has 100% uptime, and Crit Plus and Concentration are just straight damage increases. His flexibility has greatly increased by making his stacking self-sufficient, and his crit into Crit Plus. And to top it all off, he got Confusion for whatever that might be used for. So what was already a perfectly good kit got any holes in it completely sealed, and then he just got several straight up buffs on top of it. There's clearly some kind of Azathoth dev at Life Wonders, because this is like really VIP treatment. It's like insane, the gap between this and every other Evo in this batch.
It's justice.
It's like, it's not even close. What
It's
do you mean justice? He was really good.
You know who else was also already good? Tindalos or Yukamwi? Yeah, explain that. There's your fucking
care.
justice.
I don't care about them. Also, they're 5 stars.
Yeah, well, this guy's a world rep and he got snubbed to a 4-star in both his cards, so actual justice. Delicious justice.
But yeah, very, very powerful Evo. Like, possibly the most powerful Evo. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know about that, but what do you think, Arby?
Why did they do this? Who thought this was a good idea? Literally, already the best unit from this banner, and they was like, oh yeah, let's make him even more consistent and even more self-sufficient on a 4-star kit, by the way, who already disables the entire board with Light Slash weapon change and skill lock on attack, who can't be skill locked himself
So
while
funny.
also ramping.
So funny. And if you skill seed him, it's actually like he's the first unit in the game who's just like completely immune to all removable debuffs, guaranteed. And the first unit in the game to just have like a guaranteed skill lock on attack. It's like, what?
Late could never.
Oh my god, my fucking sides.
This shit's giving me a headache.
This is what Azathoth was laughing about. He saw into the future and he was like, wow, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, literally his only downside is that he's very vulnerable when he CS's. That's it. Because he can't proc evasion and he's squishier.
I mean, it's like...
Outside of that, it's like, you know...
It's only his downside if you're trying to be cheesy and trying to, like, solo carry with him, even though, like, he's actually exceptionally flexible when it comes to benefiting from literally anyone else, because he doesn't need to move at all. So, and like his amps aren't particularly common either, so he's very easy to synergize with anyone. So it's like, why would he solo carry with him when it's, unless you're showing off? He could just like super easily make him even that much stronger on top of what stupid shit he already has. By the way, the confusion does help, because while he can just wipe everything blindly, he could also stall by like just poking them from the side with his long slash range while denying them the ability to approach him. It's so fucking dumb.
I mean, they're going to be long slash for the first few turns anyway, but...
Well, if you're stalling, then yeah, at that
it's,
point.
more important.
But yeah, I'd say, yeah, it's normally a liability if you're solo carrying, but if you're not being a dum-dum and actually just using him, you know, like a proper team that synergizes them, which is very easy to, by the way, then it's very easy to just
say
like,
that considering your footage is so low.
well, the game's fucking hyper easy even with him solo carrying, so it's to make a point here. But he's even more powerful because then you just remove all his weaknesses very easily just by covering his one very well projected, you know, weakness turn, quote unquote. Which, by the way, is like not even really that bad of a weakness, because now that he can, you know, actually ramp up to his max damage much more quickly, just literally exactly on turn 6 because of his vanity proccing his damage amp stacks. He's like very easily able to reach like boss killing levels on a 4-star just from his own amps, which on his charge, of course, which is why it's like his charge is now like a good thing to actually reliably get charge damage for. He is dealing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
this.
even do damage calculations, so
He's still not too great for farming, because it's like he's really pretty much designed to just function on turn 2 onwards, as well as after getting hit for that. So it's like at a minimum 4,000 damage per square. So it's technically, you know, it's not great, but it's usable with a couple amps. Plus, he does have guaranteed skill lock, so that's helpful for at least some utility situations. But like the moment he gets it, it's like fucking he's with both 6 stacks, he's doing 120,000 damage square. If he happens to have concentration, that goes to 270,000 damage square. And if he has his charge on top of that, then he's doing 1.1 million damage per square.
Amduscias could never.
What the actual fuck is this garbage? So funny. Oh god.
I mean, technically, he was already kind of capable of doing that before.
He was kind of
Just
restricted based
the
on
debuff.
he had to bring a team that would debuff him, which was not technically very possible unless you were bringing like Pazuzu as well as some ally debuffer, since Vanity didn't even exist back then to exploit one-turn debuffs.
Why Pazuzu?
So that they can immediately remove the debuff so that they could apply it again in the next turn. Because
Azathoth could already do that.
I guess
That was
that's
just base kit.
That's true.
You could just
Oh my
be like,
god, I keep on forgetting how
Hasta.
stupidly strong he was at base kit, but it's just like guaranteed now.
Yeah, I was actually
without building.
I remember for what was it, the Seamerg Christmas event, like one of the HQs I was using Azathoth and Summer Tindulos for like a duo clear or something, and those two got another Skivo. So I just want to like take a look back and be like, what the fuck are you thinking of Wonders?
Who's this?
I did like a duo clear with Azathoth and Summer Tindulos, like
Free Evo for both.
yeah. And it was quite effective, but I did have to use my brain a bit for like positioning, whatnot.
And now you don't have to use your brain?
No, I optimally not. This unit's so fucking brain dead, it is insane.
Yeah. Actually, I
I'm
didn't
just
even read my
imagining
notes.
like
Sorry, go on.
sitting Azathoth at the front, and if you have like a unit who's like pulling the entire board, he's just like a meat grinder that enemies are slowly getting pulled into.
Oh yeah, that was like one of my first like videos on my channel, the fucking boogeyman meat grinder.
Yeah, you can use Gordon too now, but yeah, Boogeyman's a classic pair with Azathoth. Very excellent role to skill lock everyone while exploiting that, pretty decent rate evasion per hit.
Milk, are you alive?
Yes, I am alive, and I do not
Azathoth
want to
killed
talk
him.
about this fucking kid.
Well, I could keep on going and gloating about this if you want. Let's see. Yeah, he easily passes damage checks with his boss killing damage all by himself. Very fun for 4 stars. That's, what the fuck? He can actually benefit with the current AR I'm encoding quite well for solo carries if you want to do that. Because the AR that is free from Envar's shop, the Shenong Gyuman one, lets the unit equipping it benefit from both on-miss heal, which Azathoth won't always do, but he can easily miss if he wants to just by moving backwards, or per debuff heal, which is he automatically debuffs himself. So very cool synergy with his evasion. Can safely stall with both the long slash and confusion. He does have some caveats, of course. You're not gonna be using him for like the Warmonger's career, most likely for solo carries, because he does not have any answer to back row pokes unless you're using someone like Oz or Contribution or something like that. You really do need someone who can pull to get that evasion. And even if he's fucking immune to everything, that doesn't mean the allies you bring are immune, so that's still something to consider. But just like a very minimal thing to consider at that point, to be honest.
Bring Pazuzu or something.
Funnily enough, Azathoth is in this unique position where he is like hyper busted on support because he just doesn't get his charge up at all. So he will forever be rolling for evasion instead. But yeah, as I said, even stronger with a pair carry. You don't need to move any part. Bring him with Oz or with like Eta or Sphinx or Lasotip or Togg for that expanded attack. If you just want to break the game even more for some reason. Guaranteed skill denial, guaranteeable confusion, good evasion rate for his entire team, by the way, from his previous Evo. We need to emphasize that this is not his first busted Evo. He was already busted at base, and he received a busted Evo already, and now he received the second one. Like, what the fuck? And he is uniquely too good for his own good for the charge filling aspect, in terms of he can't deny his own charge from Eagle Knock or like the Fudhumi leaked. So if you want to take advantage of that, you do actually need someone like Tindlos's base version, or Toji's police variant, so to reduce a CP rather than inflicting a debuff, which he'll just remove himself. But yeah, pull units. There's lots of units you can pull with. Gordon, Boogeyman, Taishakutin, Dagon, Behemoth, these, the works. And you can just like toss in the column clear there to handle back pokes, I guess. They'll be fine with his evasion. But yeah, he does everything, kind of. Does this inspire you, Milk, to add on to that? Does this bring joy?
Still long/L.
True.
Get his ass.
He's never gonna be relevant because of that. Unless, I don't know, Summer Oz somehow fixes it.
I mean, he does, but...
Summer Oz fixes everything.
I don't know. Like, the attack up in Brawn loss is kind of for farming. But, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, he's not gonna be great for farming, like I said. For challenges, though, it's like actually one of the best choices ever.
Just wait until we get a unit who gives themselves possession, and then it hits their own teammates.
That would actually break him further, yeah.
Aro wanting harder challenge quests, and then gloating when we have the most busted ass unit that counters basically every mechanic in the game.
I'm not being like a fucking like communist here. It's like, oh, the challenges are too easy. Make everyone weak. No more good evil. I'm not gonna be like that, obviously. I want harder challenges. I don't want shittier units. I'm not like pining for Gen 1 days. Jeez.
I mean,
I don't
it's
know. I think
inevitable that if a unit does everything, then what challenge do you have? What?
Well,
Don't use them. Yes.
just I don't know, make them resist skill lock and also apply evasion resistance. There you go.
Anti-Azathoth debuff.
That's funny. Like a fucking non-debuff weakening or some trash like that.
Non-debuff weakening.
If
I
guild
guess so.
is genociders, take 10,000 flat damage. Oh wait, he would survive that.
He would, yeah.
Take 9,900 or damage cap. I don't know what the damage cap is offhand.
He has one appearing guts.
Why does he have guns?
Yeah. Because he needs another safety net.
He needed that for sure.
You could die if somehow you like. I don't know. I don't even know what kills him like instantly at this rate.
You need to like constantly be hitting enemies and then like getting his charge up on turn 4 or something.
Oh. Ooh. What if he like always charged and then got like CS weapon range none?
I feel like they did that in one of the CQs, but
They did that in the festival 3rd CQ, where they changed they gave everybody CS weapon range none, so you couldn't nuke it with like Cthulhu and shit. The Licho festival one.
Alright.
I forgot to mention that there's multiple festivals.
are they capable of making unique skill locking status effects?
I feel like they should be able to, but who knows? Maybe they don't. No, actually they do. There's like a, you know that time when your like arm breaks or something in the main quest, or you lose your arm or something.
Oh yeah, that probably was ear removal.
Oh, that.
I mean, it's
Or
they could easily.
it was
make
like the
something
injury
that,
status, right? You're like injured in the main quest. Yeah, that basically disabled everything, and that wasn't charm or like skill lock.
yeah. It's possible. Yeah, it just targets specific debuffs when they are given immunity, but that's how they made everyone get that weapon change status for that Sphinx quest. Even the ones that were normally resistant to it, they just like gave them ones that they weren't resistant to. It's that easy.
Break Azathoth's arms. There you go.
It's okay. He still has guts.
I think that's probably enough. We're here. It's just
Enough of
lazing
the
him and complaining.
enough of Azathoth. Let's
I
move
don't want
on.
to hear the word glaze in the context of this conversation.
Alright, we're gonna conclude our discussion now. So, it has been quite a while, guys. What have...
Read the comments.
Oh,
Did you even mansplain me on anything?
I gave my entire note list, I guess, so there you go. Did you want to read the chat, Zalgus, before we continue?
Yeah, but well, I mean, I don't think you like really hyper-corrected me on anything anyway. Not neat, no. Ara manipulate mansplain male wife.
So true.
At least one version of Azathoth shows his lore-accurate power. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
Justice.
His fucking base card doesn't have a Skivo yet, by the way. He gave it to this thing.
Oh, yeah,
It's the
right.
Lab effect.
Well, I mean, I don't think base Azathoth is nearly as bad as base Lade.
Oh, he
That's
is,
not very
definitely.
hard.
He just like
Well,
dies fast.
I'm only
and
saying
does, like,
that
same
because
damage.
I've gotten some use out of him in a few CQs, so that's it. But yeah, then again, Lade does give unconditional bad ardor, so there's that. The only way Azathoth could be any better with this ski boat is if he lost TP on hit. Yeah. Life Wonders embraced their inner Azathoth and was like, wouldn't it be
Nah.
funny if we buff the best unit in the banner instead of those 5-star bozos?
They gave one to Hotei. They also need to give Azathoth evasion to self at 100 CP. It can happen. I will wait.
Can't wait
Jiraiya
for
has
the
it too,
third-
so
Yeah, but he's a
Jiraiya sucks.
exactly.
To allies, and he doesn't get it to himself.
Azathoth should compliment that. by
Rely
giving
on
himself.
his poopy 50%. Which, by the way, Azathoth gets to basically 50% with concentration and glint on his evasion, so
Fair
and he has wider range than Jiraiya. And doesn't need to move. Can't wait for the third Azathoth Skivo that refreshes the weapon change every turn. Yeah, that would basically neuter almost every single map in the game, because they're all going to be long slash always, so unless they actually want to be long slash. Yeah. He just needs Turnstart Guts and he's Gucci. So true, I'm assuming.
Turnstart cuts. That sounds like a good idea.
No. Someone has Turnstart Guts, I'm sure.
It's like at a shitty rate or a turn restriction or something like that. With
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like
I don't remember who though, but yeah, Azathoth is a really dumb character.
pull him. He's good.
No, thank you. Oh, are you still going? Smiling emoji and also message retracted.
Okay. Yeah, we are still going, but we are taking out the breaks now. So, my lovely compatriots, what say you about this recent batch of content? And also
I
your
was
thoughts
hoping
on the
for
Halloween
a-
reprinting panel.
I was hoping for a Halloween out Evo, and I didn't get a proper one, so this,
got two
this
Evos.
event is shit.
You got two
It's
Evos.
shit.
Yeah,
Mm.
we got scammed.
To be
I mean, I
honest,
didn't care about anyone else anyway, so whatever.
the 5-star ARs are pretty good compared to usual. Like they're actually usable
That's true.
at like SALV1 instead of being like, okay, we're gonna get 1.1x concentration. Oh wait, we do have 1.1x concentration, but you know what I mean. It's like they're like usable in some way instead of
I
like
suppose.
instead of like, oh, you just have to wail for it to be good.
I was actually browsing the recent ARs we got, and the last one was like the Aguchi Toddy one that was like level 1 steal 250 HP from hit units, and then like that before being it to act, like the
Insane.
heal to self and allies for 250 HP, both at like 40% rates. So I guess I can see where you're coming from.
Wait, see that AR?
Like I guess it doesn't like beat pure strengthening shit, but like I think the 5-star ARs are pretty good. My batch, of course, the lower rarities are nothing, but that's kind of expected, to be honest.
Well, the ARs are.
Do you remember the
at least.
fucking the Daikoku Sarutohigo AR, the 5-star one?
The one that Joe pulled for?
Maybe.
That, like they're in the bath or
Yeah.
something.
It's fucking
A start blessing to adjacent allies and self on 80%, and also turn start arousal at 35%.
yeah.
Wow!
That's incredible.
Level 1 blessing colorway at
One
40%.
There's like a bunch of other blessing ARs too, so this is just hilariously insulting.
Well, even the other blessing ARs are kind of shit. What did we have? That fucking otter one?
Yeah, we
plushy
also had a
otter
bunch
one.
of free 4-star ones, didn't we?
Oh. I mean, we kind of peaked with the fucking blessing strengthening. Even though it didn't have blessing in it, but yeah.
It's so it can salvage all the other blessing ARs that just give
True.
blessing and nothing else.
I kind of feel like that's what they were like going for, but you know, after a while, it's like there's much easier ways of doing this, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm happy that I didn't get any of these 5-star ARs again, because that's just how it is when these ARs are actually good. As Arviso was my pulls, fucking destroyed my entire savings. Whatever.
This is where, so that's what you get. I saw what you were slandering during that stream. That was my attack against you.
Did you pull a lot?
Curse of Ra or something.
I just
Yeah.
used all my AR tickets, but I got like just the 3-star and one of the 4-stars. Like, where's my
Oh.
first good 5-star?
I only got the 3-star AR. So, I mean, nothing, you know.
True.
Yeah, I got every AR but the CP one.
Isn't
And
that
I'm
the one
like-
you wanted?
Kind of salty about that, but I think it's a pretty good haul still. I didn't even spend all my tickets for on the AR banner. I have like 10 left, and I want to save them in case we get another AR banner soon. Because this banner doesn't really have great outfit designs.
It is something. Kind of wish they made the 4-stars good too, but that's probably asking for much when both 5-stars are good. When's
I
anniversary
don't care
coming?
too much. Any less incentive to pull on AR banners is gonna be good.
That's true. I definitely did not be pull for the art for this batch. I'm just this event in general is just a complete surprise to me. I was expecting us to just get some shitty holdover campaign until anniversary. So, and now we have the delay for the anniversary ticket. Sorry for anyone who's expecting the 22nd, like I said in my video, but like, yeah, I don't know when it's gonna come out at this point. Great stuff.
It'll most likely be
Oh,
on
lame.
the anniversary. Oh, Arby's here.
Yeah, I forgot Irby was here. I thought you said you were gonna say something at the end.
I did. I said
Bowling?
stalling. There you go.
You kind of suck, Irby. What the fuck are you even here for? Seriously.
Oh, I thought you said balling.
What the fuck are you even here? Okay.
Life will never be balling.
Well, if that's it from everyone, is that it from everyone?
Yeah, I have nothing to say. This event, on the contrary, I think is kind of boring right now. But yeah,
Good thing it lasts.
when
because
you're
of that.
farming with a shit bonus,
That's because of that fuck ass Azathoth Skivo.
I can't even use him because he's like long slash in a vertical map.
I know. As much as I'm glazing him, it's like fucking. I'm just slapping him in the sub slots. Like the fuck, whatever. Forever irrelevant for farming. Okay, let's head
Alright.
out, guys. If that's it.
We can close this stream now.
It's still anniversary. In a week. Just a week away.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, it is. It's closer than I thought.
You're really stuck
Yeah.
in here for like 3 hours just to say that at the very end, Irby. What the fuck?
I was just here to listen, honestly. I've been multitasking, that's why I couldn't.
You didn't want to feel left out, guys. It's okay, Irby. You're always in our hearts, even if you're not here. Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone. Well, look forward to the finishing of my playthrough of the story tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'll get the video out for the review of this content. Probably I'll do my best for the day after that, but maybe it'll take a few days, honestly. Not looking too forward to it. I mean, yeah, you just ruined everything here. Anyways. But yeah, that's all from us. Protect the peace, following police. On 3, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.